Am I audible?
Yes, Koha.
We start our session today with the recitation of Kitab Al Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم اجعلنا من الناجحين والفائزين والممتازين في الدين في كل امتحان في الدنيا والآخرة اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا معنا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما. Oh Allah, we express our gratitude to you for allowing us to attend this event on this auspicious day. Ya Allah, Ya Farij al-Ham, Ya Kashif al-Gham, guide us with the light that you have bestowed upon the prophets before us. Guide us in our journey to achieve knowledge and grant us the wisdom and understanding to achieve success and glory for our religion and nation. Ya Rabbana Ya Karim Ya Rabbal Arshil Azim Ya Arhamar Rahimin. We pray that you will bless our gathering today and protect us all from harm and unfortunate events. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبور وقنا عذاب المحشر سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alameen. Thank you, Brother Ku Muhammad Hafiz bin Kuhusni, for the beautiful dua recitation just now. Before I proceed further into our next agenda, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Harid Asfa from Laws Program, and in this morning, I will serve you guys as the MC for today's webinar. For your information, our program today is organized to help all of you to stay focused and maintain the level of motivation within yourselves to face our final semester examination. Let's now welcome our Head of Department of Legal Studies, Madam Farahiza binti Abdul Jalal Bakri, to give her speech.
Thank you, Brother Harris, our MC. A very good morning and warm welcome, IB, to MeLex advisor, Brother Ridwan Saleh, a home speaker, my senior, my colleague, Madam Badaria Sadin, Madam Adiba Ali, and Miss Siti Farhana Abu Hassan, CFI's alumni, Brother Saiful and Sister Diana, MeLex Law Organizing Committee, my dear beloved students and all participants of Lex Talks How to Score Law Papers. As we are approaching the final week of the semester, this is about time for us to prepare and to do revision. So all the formats, the tips, trick, aids, and the technique of the exam will be shared with you by your very own lecturer and your senior. So Alhamdulillah, if you are here with us now, consider you are lucky and blessed. So let's pray to Allah Ta'ala that this session will reach its objective, it will be a success, and will benefit all of us. With that, I wish you all the best and thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Back to you, Brother MC, Haris Asfa.
Thank you, Madam Farahiza binti Abdul Jalal Bakri, for the marvelous speech just now. I truly hope that everyone will be able to stay motivated throughout our program. In conjunction to that, today there will be 3 slots of sharing session that will be done by our speakers, and a final slot for a Q&A/forum session with our alumni at the end. Now, for the moment that we all have been waiting for, I will be honored to welcome our first speaker, Madam Adibah binti Ali, to take the floor for our very first slot, which is how to score introduction to law papers. But before we begin, if any of the participants have questions regarding the topic discussed, feel free to post your questions in the chat box in Zoom, and we will answer those questions at the end of each slot to our respected speakers. Now, without further ado, I welcome our first speaker.
Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Am I audible now?
Yes, madam.
Okay,
Salam.
alhamdulillah. Okay. Alright, so Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance, for your participation for our program today. And inshallah, we hope that this program can be a guiding tool, yeah, for you guys to prepare. Yeah, you have probably few weeks before our examination, so inshallah, with well prepared heads up, and you'll do your preparation early, inshallah, it will help you guys to get better marks. Yeah, but just to give some disclaimer, yeah, it's not to say that when you follow all these guidelines, A is guaranteed for you. No, yeah, because I always share with my students, A is only for Allah, right? A is Allah. Okay, so it's basically so long as how I always share with my students, it's always your efforts, yeah. We do the best and Allah do the rest. Okay, so even if you have give your utmost best, but still Allah determines that A is not yet for you, uh, it must be a reason behind it. Yeah, Allah would want you probably to do better in your degree and whatnot. But so long as you do your best, be happy with what you got, inshallah. Okay, so that is a bit of general, yeah, because in life also, you wouldn't always we wouldn't always get what we want, right? So so long as we do our best, yeah. In Islam also, Allah also doesn't look into the result, but Allah looks into our effort, yeah. But it's not that when we say that we don't need to do anything, yeah, we just give or leave it to Allah. No, yeah, we need to put our effort, yeah, use our time wisely, yeah, to show to Allah that we deserve his blessings, yeah. We do not want A but there is no blessings in our result, yeah. We want blessings. Why? Because whatever results that we get, yeah, in the future, this result we will use it to enter degree. This result we will use it to get our job in the future, and later on from that job we will give food or whatnot, money to our family. So all those barakah and blessings starts off from now. So if you want to get A but you cheat, you go and Google up when you're doing your online exam, that wouldn't do any justice in your future life, yeah. So that is my a bit of introduction. Yeah, everything starts from barakah. Yeah, so with Bismillah, let's start our some tips and tricks on how to score ITL paper, inshallah. Yeah. Okay, can you guys see my slides?
Yes, madam.
Okay. All right. So this is the outline for our sharing today. Okay. We will topic examination, and we look into the duration, and then essay question and short answer question. We have the differences between the two, how to answer the two different types, and then addressing keywords, yeah, is the next subtopic, and finally is general preparations, yeah. Okay, so first things first, I don't think this my slide will cover up until 1 hour, but I will leave the remaining time for Q&A, yeah, for you guys to ask. That will be more efficient, inshallah. Okay, so topics which will be assessed, yeah. Firstly is introduction to sources of law. You can refer, okay. Introduction to sorry, yeah. Introduction to sources of law, okay. The primary sources and secondary sources, yeah. So those are under the topic of introduction to sources of law. All right. Secondly, we have constitution, and then legislation, case law, and Islamic law. Okay. So I think so far most of our classes have covered, yeah, most of these topics, inshallah. So it's a very timely period, yeah, for you to prepare your notes, and to, if you have anything that you don't understand, you can start asking your lecturer from now on. Okay, don't wait until tomorrow is your exam and then you want to ask at 12 a.m. midnight before the exam tomorrow. Yeah, that will cause discomfort to your lecturers. Yes, so start from now. If you do early, plan early, then inshallah you will get better understanding, yeah, when you are not in rush. Okay. Right, so the duration, okay, for our EOS is 3 hours. Okay, before this it was 2.5 hours when it was face to face, but now for online submission and whatnot, we give some extra time of 30 minutes, yeah, in case of any problem with connection and whatnot, yeah. And then plan and, okay, before I move into the time management, we will use the platform of Google Classroom. Okay, so like what we had for our quiz that day, yeah, that is roughly how we're going to do it, okay, in Google Classroom, and you answer straight away in the Google Docs, yeah. So basically from there we can trace if for example any user is answering your paper, yeah, because each of your answer, your Google Doc is individualized, yeah, so we can see who is typing at real-time basis. So what we do is to randomly pick any paper or any Google Doc and see who is typing, yeah, and whatnot, just to check for your integrity, whether or not there is any other intervention from other party. Okay, Google Classroom and Google Drive. Yeah, that's why during the quiz we have used the same platform. Yeah, just to give you guys some heads up and to be familiarized with the Google Classroom. Okay. Okay, so what I mentioned here as plan and allocate time. Yeah, as we have discussed also for my students for quiz that day. The example is, for example, our exam starts at 9 a.m., right? So if 3 hours, so the for EOS will have 4 big questions, yeah, questions, and some of them are further divided into smaller questions. So these 4 questions, you have 3 hours. 3 hours is roughly around how many minutes? Berapa? So let's say 1 hour is 60 minutes. So you have roughly around 180 minutes. Yeah, 3 hours, 180 minutes. So you divide it to the 4 questions that we have. Okay. So however, give some extra apa dia panggil tu? Free time lah, ataupun we have 30 minutes. Okay. If let's say 30 minutes for each question, 4 questions times 30 minutes is already 120 minutes, right? So you have another 60 minutes remaining. Okay. So what I did last time when I was a student, when you got the question, straight away plan your time. Okay. So for example, question 1, okay, we give 30 minutes first for each question. Okay. So that the remaining we can recheck, we can like I will mention later, check grammar and whatnot, yeah, or probably if you don't have time, you can always come back to the question. Okay, for example, I put already straight away, if the exam starts at 9 a.m, so I straight away put question 1, 9 to 9:30 a.m, question 2, 9:30 to 10 a.m, question 3, 10 to 10:30, question 4, 10:30 to 11. Why I straight away put the timing and not just, okay, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes in my head? No, why I put it in writing on anywhere lah, like for last time when we have physical question paper, I put it at the top of the question, but now since you guys have it in your Google Docs, so you can put it anywhere in your table, whatnot. Why? Because when we are in a rush in answering, we do not want to be disturbed by thinking, oh, what is the time now? When should I go to the next question and whatnot? So when you already set your time, for example, okay, by 9:30 I need to move to the second question, or however you arrange it, okay? But most importantly, give 10 or 15 minutes a gap, yeah, for each question, so that at the end you have ample time to recheck your answer. Okay, so basically that is because especially online submissions, yeah, time is very important, because sometimes if you want to submit, let's say the paper ends at 12 p.m, yeah, and then at 11:30 or 11:45 you are in a rush to submit, but then suddenly internet problem or connection problem, or probably your Google Doc hang or something like that, yeah. So that is why you need the ample time, you need some extra time for you to plan properly. Probably if let's say the exams ends at 12, so you plan that by 11:30 probably you are almost 99% done. Okay, so the remaining hour is for you to check, yeah, to just go through your answer. Okay, so that is my advice or my tips on how you want to manage your time properly and make sure that you submit on time. Okay. All right, next we move into essay and short answer questions. Yeah, essay versus short answer questions. What is the difference? Okay. First, how you want to decide whether you need to answer short or long. Okay. First, you look into the marks allocation. Okay. The formula I would say, if move to the next point here, if it's below 5 marks, then it will be short answer. Okay. So your answer should be straightforward. Okay, but if it's more than 5 marks, then it requires an essay. Okay, when we say about essay, you must have introduction and conclusion. Why? Because in the introduction and conclusion, it will have the 1 or 2 marks, 1 or 0.5 marks specific for introduction and conclusion. Yeah, so if you don't do that, then you will lose mark for introduction and conclusion. So this is what differentiates between low marks and high marks. Yeah, even this 0.5 or 1 mark will differentiate whether you got a B or you got an A. So we don't have control over how the assessor will mark your content, right? But this part, yeah, to give introduction and conclusion is something that we can control. It's something that we can guarantee. Yeah, so that's why do your best to put intro and conclusion, but not introduction as in straight away go into content in the same paragraph. No. Okay, you do it 1 or 2 line, yeah, for introduction, and then you separate the paragraph immediately. Why? We go into the next point. Okay, divide contents to different paragraphs. Okay, this one is for introduction and conclusion, and also for the contents. Why? We want clear demarcation between introduction, content, and conclusion, so that it's easy for us to give marks. Yeah, in the sense that, okay, oh, we clearly see this part is the introduction. Okay, so this student gave introduction, so following the answer scheme, whether the introduction gives 0.5 or 1 mark, so you deserve that because you clearly give introduction separate from your content. But introduction, make sure that it is related to the question lah. Okay, don't the question asks about case law, then suddenly you want to give introduction about Islamic law. Then it's not relevant at all. Okay, give some introduction, general introduction and conclusion. Okay, so when we talk about conclusion, okay, sometimes students ask me, madam, what to put in the introduction and conclusion? Okay, for me, introduction, if the question doesn't ask definition, then you can put the definition in the introduction. Okay, or just give general statement. Okay, for example, the question asks about legislation, Okay, you can put introduction. Okay, society needs law to control their behaviors. Okay, therefore, we need a written law to fulfill that objective, for example. Okay, then the next point, the content, okay, you give the definition of legislation and move on to the next contents or body of the paragraph, yeah. And then I always share my student for conclusion, always come back to the question. Okay, whatever lah yang you already put in the content, the body, at the conclusion, okay, therefore, the usual words lah, therefore, thus, hence, whatnot, or in a nutshell, in conclusion, okay. Legislation is very important, yeah, to assist the government or to assist the authority to make sure that the society lives in peace and harmony, or to maintain democracy, whatnot lah. Okay, so how you want to do the conclusion? Simple tips, simple formula is that you relate back to the question. Okay, for example, the question asks about importance of legislation. Okay, so at the conclusion, therefore, legislation is very important to the society because blah 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 blah. You recap back all your contents. Okay, everyone okay so far?
Okay,
Yes, madam.
All right.
Yes, madam.
Okay. Next, so that is about essay and short answer question, yeah. Okay. All right. Next is about number of answers. Okay, whether or not the question asks you, for example, give 2 examples, yeah, or give 3 advantages, for example, yeah. So if there is a required amount, you must follow the required amount. Okay, for example, the required amount is 2 and then they give 4. What we will assess is only the first 2. Okay, even if let's say the first is wrong, okay, the second answer is correct, the third answer is correct, the third point is correct, we cannot consider the third point. Okay, because the question clearly requires you to give 2. Okay, so we are required to only assess the first 2 answers that you give. Okay, so that is if there is required amount. Okay, but if let's say there is no specific amount, yeah, mentioned in the question, we look into the marks allocated. Okay, for example, the question is 7 marks. Okay, so let's say 0.5 marks and 0.5 marks is for intro and conclusion, so we are left with 6 marks, correct? Okay, so 6 marks, you can either give 3 points, yeah, so you give 3 points with 2 marks for each point. So that is how you want to plan your answer. Okay, so you work with that for the, that's why you mentioned here, looks at the marks allocated. Okay, so next is about addressing keywords. Okay, so addressing keywords, why is this important? Because different question would require a different type of answer. Okay, type of answer in the sense that how you want to put your sentences, yeah, to relate to the question. Okay, it's always, why is this important for me? Because for example, in the future, when you work later, for example, the client comes to you, yeah, bring their story. You as a dean's list, you memorize lots of things, yeah. So client you cerita the problem, and then because all the textbook answers are in your mind already, kan? So you give everything. You cerita to the client, okay, to solve your problem, we need to do A until Z. Do you think that actually helps your client? Do you think that really addresses client's problem?
No, madam.
Oh.
Pening lagi adalah.
Why not? Okay, satu
Because
pening
it's
lagi
too
adalah.
many information at once.
Very good, too many information at once. And most importantly, it doesn't really address the problem. Okay, that is in real life situation or real life scenario. But in your situation, to answer some question is, that's why it's important to always remember to answer the question. Okay, so the client's case just now is to solve their problem. Okay, solve their problem, straight away go to the area of law that can solve their problem, not to give everything from A to Z. No. Okay, so just like for you guys, okay, understand what the question wants. Okay, so how to understand what the question wants? Okay, you first most important thing is to understand the keywords or the action words that the question use. Okay, for example, we have discuss, explain, and elaborate. Yeah, this is the most okay, the first most lowest level is to list, give, or state. Yeah, so that is just stating. Yeah, that is the worst action word. Okay, that one is for you to just give without having any elaboration. Okay, the next level is discuss, explain, and elaborate. So you need to discuss a little bit more. Okay, if give and state, one one full sentence is enough. Okay, for example, but that's why in law papers you cannot put in forms. Okay, I'm not sure if there are any other lecturers who can point meaning forms, but I think majority of us would agree that if law papers, even if the question says state, give, or list, you need to put it in one full sentence. Okay, why? Because even if like in class, when you are asked question, and then you give the answer in one word. Okay, for example, the lecturer may understand what you're trying to say, but other people would can they interpret, oh, from one word, what is it that you want to, what is it that you're trying to say? It's quite challenging, right? It's quite difficult. Yeah, so that's why even if the question asks for state, list, or give, you still need to put it in one full sentence. Why? To make sure that your reader understand what is it that you want to say. What is the thing that you want to convey lah? What is the message that you want to send to your reader? Okay, so that is for state, give, and list, for example. Okay, the next level, discuss, explain, or elaborate. This one you need to extend a little bit more. Okay, instead of one sentence, you need to give two or minimum of 2 or 3 sentences for each point. Okay, that's why it says discuss, explain, or elaborate. Okay, another thing that I want to share is that when you study, even from now in any other subjects also, you try to dissect the words. Dissect means that you go to the literal meaning of those words. Okay, when we go into the literal meaning, then we understand where that word comes from, and then the next compulsory step is to go to the technical meaning. Yeah, and put the literal meaning in context. Why I'm saying this, because when you master the technique of dissecting here, it helps you to understand, it helps you to imagine. Okay, what is that word trying to say? Okay, for example, discuss. So obviously your answer needs to have discussion and not just stating. Okay, explain also. From the word, you need to explain, elaborate. You need to elaborate, not just give one sentence. No. Okay, for discuss, explain, and elaborate. Okay, you already gave the main point. So the next sentence for you to elaborate, explain, and whatnot. Okay, so that is the next level. Okay, the third keyword is about distinguishing, comparing, or differentiating. Okay, this one, the most common error that we do is that, for example, there are two things, A and B. We give everything about A, and then the next paragraph only we say everything about B. Do you think that is comparing or differentiating?
No.
Oh,
Okay,
Quite
why
big,
not?
Sebab it's not comparing each point to each point.
Very good. Yeah, so when we say distinguishing, comparing, or differentiating, you need to put the points side by side. Okay, for example, in one paragraph, okay, you say A is different to B in the sense of definition, for example. Okay, then go to the next paragraph. This is what I mentioned earlier. Separate the points in paragraph so that even if short paragraphs, even if one paragraph is only 3 or 4 lines, it's way better than you putting everything in one long paragraph of 15 lines. No. Okay, why? But probably in the 15-line paragraph, you would have the contents, but it will not help the lecturer to mark and to easily give you points. Yeah, so when you separate the paragraphs, then it helps the assessor to immediately, oh, this is point number 1. So you already got say, if the answer scheme give you 2 marks for each point, then easily the lecturer can give you 1.5 or 2 marks for each point. Yeah, depending on your grammar, depending on how you elaborate, whether the reader or the lecturer is able to understand what you want to convey lah. Okay, so use connective words, meaning, okay, in the same paragraph, okay, let's say A is applicable to all the society. However, B is only applicable to certain group of people. So connective words tu macam in contrast, however, on the other hand, yeah. So that very important to help construct your sentence to show that there is distinguishing, comparing, or differentiating. Okay. Then significance or importance. Okay. For this part, it's very important to, okay, when you already give your main point in the paragraph and then you elaborate example, explanation, whatnot. At the end of the paragraph, not at the end of the essay, no. Even for each paragraph, you need to come back to the question. Okay. For example, the question asks for importance of Islamic law. Okay, for example. So importance of Islamic law, at the end of the paragraph, okay, therefore, Islamic law is very important to ensure everyone is healthy spiritually, for example. Okay, each paragraph, you relate back to the main question. Okay, why? To show that actually you understand the question, and then your answer actually, from your perspective, your answer actually relates to the question. Okay, so that is for significance or importance. And then lastly, advantages or disadvantages. This one, most of the time, you need to come back to the required amount. Yeah, sometimes it asks you 2 advantage, 1 disadvantage, up to the question. So this one also same like significance and importance. At every paragraph, you come back to the main question. Okay, therefore, hence, thus, for example, subsidiary law is crucial or is essential to assist the enforcement of the primary legislation, for example. Okay. All right. So that is addressing keywords. All right. So that is for the essay. Okay, next is general preparations. Okay, so I have the time until what time, yeah, Harith?
10:15.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Okay, so next is general preparations. Okay, as I always highlight, yeah, or emphasize for my classes, read first before class. Why? There is a major difference between you coming to class not reading anything, yeah, you just want to listen to your lecturer and hoping that you understand. You come to class reading beforehand, even if you read beforehand you don't understand, but at least when your lecturer mentioned it in class, you would have some memory parked in your mind. Okay, so it's already in your mind and you don't understand, it's easier for you to ask your lecturer in what sense that you don't understand. Okay, and if you read before class, you can already put the discussion in class in context. Yeah, you could see the bigger picture. Yeah, so that's why you still have few weeks. Okay, for the remaining topics, or even in the future lah. This is a very general tips that I share. Always do your best to read before class. Okay, even if 10 to 15 minutes that you read at night before the next day punya class, that is already good enough. Okay, to help you understand better in class. Okay, so that is the first preparation. Number 2, do long notes before revision week. Okay, meaning the long notes you do currently during the semester, okay, for you to use it to understand, to memorize, yeah. But then you also need to summarize that and put it in short notes, yeah, for your memorization 1 or 2 days before exam. As like for me, I'm not a memorizer, yeah, so that's why I really need the long notes for my understanding, which later on the short notes help me to memorize. Okay, for example, okay, we have how many advantages of case law, for example, and how many disadvantages of case law or judicial precedent. Yeah, so you list them. Okay, that's why it's good if you learn about mind mapping, diagram, because it helps rather than essay. Yeah, it doesn't really it's not really easy for you to park in your mind. But if you learn about diagram or mind mapping, then it will help to boost your memory. Okay, and then next, my next sharing is to avoid submitting early. I understand some of you guys would think if you think that you're done, then you just submit. Yeah, why waste time to wait until the end of the exam time, whatnot. But me personally, I would highly recommend my students to not submit early. Why? Because the remaining time, sometimes we can detect our errors, detect our mistakes, yeah? So use the remaining time to recheck and improve our answers, check grammar, probably how we arrange the answers, yeah? Lagi you guys are submitting online kan, so if you think that the sequence of your answer can be improved, you can always copy and paste it on top, whatnot, yeah? So always use your time wisely, yeah, because sometimes the remaining hour punya actions tu can differentiate your score lah. Okay, so lastly is for you to general preparation, to istiqamah solah, yeah, prayer as in doa, yeah, always doa consistently, non-stop doa that Allah helps you in every day activity, yeah. Do your level best, yeah, answer with bismillah and whatever doa. If you want to do solat hajat, that is very good. And after answering, tawakal. Okay, don't go stress, alamak itu ke jawapan dia sebenarnya. Don't go stress about that. Okay, whatever your efforts, yeah, you still have ample time, 2 or 3 weeks to prepare. Okay, and then leave it to Allah. Okay, tawakal. Okay, so that is the preparation. So let's look into sample questions a bit. Okay, maybe you guys can join. Yeah, I will ask you guys generally how you think we should answer the question. Okay, yeah, let me check the chat first in case there are questions. Okay, so yeah. Okay, excuse me, will there be KBAT questions about law in other countries? For example, choose 2 countries and describe what Malaysia can learn and follow from that countries in terms of policy. Wow, okay. This one will be probably the nearest would be, I don't think degree also have this question, yeah, but not at law level, yeah, foundation level we don't have this question. But it's good, yeah, you can expose your mind to this kind of critical thinking. Very, it's just that for at your foundation level, yeah, we only give you on the surface idea about all the area of law that we have, right? So this KBAT question we reserve it to the later levels lah. At foundation level we don't have this question. Okay, Hairul Amiri, Madam, with the allocated mark is 5, but I write points more than 5, is it okay to do more? If the question there really asks to explain, for example, but I write the example, and is it possible that mark? Okay. First question, if the allocated mark is 5, but you write points more than 5, if the question doesn't give you any limit, okay, you can give more than 5. Okay, it's okay to do more if there is no limit given by the question. Okay, to answer your second question, as I discussed earlier, if the question requires you to have 5 examples, you give 6 examples, we only accept the first 5. Okay, we don't read the last example or the 6th example. but we don't deduct marks lah if you give more. But that's why I say work within the question, okay? Because if you give more, it shows that you are not clear or you don't follow the instruction of the question lah. Okay, Caroline? Right, so the first question, list two basic features of Federal Constitution, 2 marks. You just need to list two, don't give more. Okay, but then listing also, what did I say just now? Apa kena buat apa kalau list pun?
One full sentence, madam.
Very good. Yeah, to give one full sentence and not just giving points. All right. Okay. Then what is subsidiary legislation? Illustrate your answer by giving 2 examples. So kat sini 3 marks. What you need to do? Very good, Mara. Yang the second sample question tu macam mana? How would you construct your answer?
Bagi definition subsidiary legislation and then 2 example in a full sentence, 2 example.
Correct. Yeah, so that's why it's important for you to plan, yeah, the time before. At the starting of the exam, yeah, because sometimes each question will require more things. Yeah, memang dia bagi satu baris je kat situ, but actually inside that one line there are lots of things that you need to discuss. Yeah, so if you plan your time properly, insyaAllah you can submit on time. Lagi bila online submission ni memang dia tulis, ya, if you submitted late and what not. So if submitted late might cost you some marks. Okay, so like this, don't forget to give your 2 examples lah. The problem with this kind of question is that sometimes we go discussing about the first part, we forget about the second part. Okay, so don't forget about this second part of the question. Okay, so you need to give the 2 examples. Yeah. Okay, next question. Distinguish the following. Okay, 4 marks. What you need to do? Distinguishing.
Compare each point.
Yes, compare each point. So for example, okay, binding precedent is the binding precedent may come but the judges have option. Judges have no option to disagree with the precedent. Okay. On the other hand, persuasive precedent gives option to the judges whether or not to follow or not the precedent. Okay. Lepas tu baru masuk next point. So binding precedent, one example of binding precedent is ratio decidendi, while one example for persuasive precedent is while the example for persuasive precedent is obiter dicta, dissenting judgment, privy council decision, or Commonwealth country's decision. Okay, so put the points side by side. Okay, separate the paragraphs. Remember? Okay, and then distinguishing and per inquiry, you distinguish. You put it side by side as well. Distinguishing is to differentiate the facts of the case, while per inquiry, or on the other hand, or in contrast, per inquiry is when the judges make the decision without referring to relevant statutes or sources. Okay, put it side by side. So 4 marks. Yeah, so look, that's why I say first things first, look at the marks. Okay, to what extent you need to discuss. Okay, sometimes students ask, how do we know how short or how long that we answer? Yeah, so like here 4 marks, so probably 2 marks for binding, 2 marks for persuasive precedent. Usually 2 marks, 1 point would carry 2 marks, but to be safe, if there is no limit to how many points that the question wants, you give extra another point. Yeah. So 4 marks is 2 marks, 2 points for binding and 2 points for persuasive. So you compare on 2 bases. Okay, for example. Okay, next question. Elaborate the concept of supremacy of Federal Constitution in relation to Article 4, Clause 1 of the Federal Constitution. 6 marks. How you answer this?
Intro and conclusion.
Very good. Okay, so intro and conclusion. Let's say 0.5 marks for intro, 0.5 marks for conclusion. So you will be leaving how many marks?
5 more
For
for contents.
5 marks for contents, right? So 5 marks if I am the student to answer, I would give minimum of 3 points. Okay, so 3 points with 2 marks each would entitle 6 marks. Yeah, so if it's more, then it's okay. More because the question doesn't require any limit of the points, right? So give 3 points. Yeah, what are the, for example, the first point is definition. Okay, the second point, how it applies to Malaysia. Okay, the third point probably comparing constitutional supremacy with parliamentary supremacy. Okay, so if there is no limit of in the question, you are free to give anything, but to give anything, when to stop. Yeah, because you guys are very brilliant students, so you have lots of points in your mind. So when to stop, come back to our time management. Yeah, the allocated time. Okay, so when the time comes, you must up conclusion. But if you couldn't you couldn't finish before your planned time, that is the use of the balance 10 to 15 minutes at the end, yeah, for you to cover back for the questions that you are yet to finish. Okay, so that is for 6 marks. All right, and then the last sample question, define Act of Parliament and elaborate 3 types of acts, 7 marks. So kat sini ada 2 part juga. Okay, so first one you need to give definition, Act of Parliament, and then last, don't always not to forget the second part. Okay, elaborate 3 types of acts. Okay, 7 marks, so probably 1 or 2 definition. Okay, and then 3 types of act would bring 2 marks each, for example. Okay, so 3 times 2 marks would carry 6 marks and 1 mark for definition. Okay, but that is just the guiding yeah, sometimes the answer scheme would have different marks, but that is how you want to plan your answer. Okay, all right, so roughly that is some sample questions that we have. So Maan Najah, and all the best everyone. Okay, we have probably 8 minutes more before our session ends. Probably we can open for Q&A. Thank you guys for your attention.
All right. Thank you, Madam Adibah binti Ali, for that wonderful sharing session. Now we'll move on to our Q&A slot with the participants. So feel free to type in your questions in the chat box below.
Assalamualaikum everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Actually, I don't have a question. Actually, I just want to add some more points as mentioned by Madam Adibah just now. I think besides the strategy before the examination, I think the strategy during the examination is also as important as preparation before the examination. Because you might know all the points, you might have all the understanding, but at the end of the day, if you go to the examination and yet you don't understand the question and what the question wants, then there will be no use. It's like you are going for a war, tapi macam tak tahu nak guna senjata, tak tahu nak perang. So it will be a very it will be a loss. But what I want to add is that this is just my practice. During my time as a student, I always scribble the question paper. I try to make skeleton or draft point, because right after the exam start, your mind is still fresh, right? So when you read the question, you try to scribble all the main points related to the question. For example of delegated legislation, you have to terus conteng kat soalan tu. But now, unfortunately, you'll be having your test or your examination online. So it's still okay. You can still scribble. You can have a piece of paper with you together during the exam for you to write down. And another thing that I always do, I like very much Madam Adibah mentioned about the keywords. Dulu during the examination, I've always what we call it, highlight the keywords. But now maybe you can highlight digitally lah. Maybe those are the things that I want to add. I open for Q&A.
Thank you very much, yeah, Sir Ridwan, for your additional points. Very, very good. Yeah, so like you guys now online, so stand by your paper and pen on the side for you to scribble, yeah, your draft, your skeleton, whatnot. Okay. Some question from the chat box, yeah. CD Imran, where can we find more past year sample question? Actually, at degree level, you would have some sample question bank at the library, but I'm not sure at foundation level. I don't think we have that, right, Saridwan? We don't have that for CFS level, yeah. So but during revision, your lecturers like this, yeah, your lecturers would share some past year questions. Yeah, that is where you to guide you guys on how to answer past year question lah. Okay, degree level, inshallah you could have it at library, but foundation level we don't have that yet. Okay,
I may add
Anna,
because,
Nadia, what should we do if yeah.
because actually the content of the course that you are learning right now is relatively new. We just had the curriculum review last year, so you are the second batch, affected batch. So we also want to avoid confusion. If we put in soalan zaman Tok Kaduk kan, kadang panik tengok soalan tapi tak belajar. So that's among the reason lah.
Alright. Okay, so to answer Anna Nadia's question, if you are blank or too nervous, I would advise istighfar, okay, take a deep breath, yeah. And yeah, I would say most of the time, a deep breath would definitely help. Lagi korang online ni kan, so probably korang nak pergi ambil uduk sekejap ke apa ke kan, ke syaitan tengah mengacau you masa tu. So pergi ambil uduk sekejap, istighfar banyak, okay, then Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, start back. Boleh? Alright, Anna. And then Atira, madam, for the last question on the next slide. Do we still need to give introduction? If yes, how can we do it? Take 7 marks and the question already asked us to give definition. 1 mark, okay. You can give the introduction and conclusion in the sense that, for example tadi pasal apa tadi ya? In example, kejap. Act of Parliament. Okay, define Act of Parliament is legislation kan? Okay, so you give introduction lah. Okay, several legal systems or in Malaysia, we have Parliament to enact laws. Okay, for what? Selalu introduction ni yang selalu another point that you can use is the purpose or the objective. Okay, objective of that particular source of law lah. In this case, source of law. So legislation is important to give a written law for the people to follow or for the enforcement to enforce the law. Okay, so for to be safe, yeah, because sometimes the answer scheme may vary. So to be safe, more than 5 marks intro and conclusion. Okay, contoh kita tadi tu memanglah 1 mark untuk definition, and then 3 examples tu kan. Tapi to be safe, bagi the introduction as contoh objective of legislation, objective or purpose of legislation. Okay, and then baru you masuk next contender, definition of legislation, lepas tu masuk example and conclusion. Kenapa saya cakap bagi the introduction and conclusion? Because mungkin ada certain lecturer yang dia jenis okay, dia jenis flexible in the sense janji you dah bagi definition dengan examples tu, it's good enough. Tapi mungkin ada certain lecturer pula style dia nak kena ada intro, conclusion. So different lecturer would have different styles. So I would suggest for you to, kalau kata tu prepare for the worst lah. Okay, maksud dia give yang paling optimum, paling ultimate yang you boleh bagi. So but still limit dia apa? Optimum, you guys ni bagus, suka nak bagi optimum yang very the bomb macam tu. So tapi limit dia apa? Limit dia kalau soalan tu ada bagi limit quantity, follow that limit, and also your time. So time tu yang akan stop korang punya idea yang bercambah-cambah tu. So work within the time limit. Okay, I hope I answer Atira question.
Madam Adiba, if possible, I just want to add some more to respond the question from Anna Nadia ni.
Okay.
What happened if we went blank? Actually, to be honest, of course, based on my personal experience, of course, we all have been sitting in examination and at one point pernah blank, of course. Dulu during the face-to-face examination, I always take time pergi toilet basuh muka, just like Madam Adiba mentioned. But besides that, what you can do is that when you come back, you must remember one thing. The examination will never ask you question that we never learn in class. So what you can do is just that try to read again the question. Okay, identify which topic. Contoh, ni soalan ni pasal apa ni? Oh, legislation. Oh, sources. Sources, which part ni? Subsidiary legislation, part of legislation. So you go back to the course outline. You go back to the structure of the course so that you can slowly recall what you have learned. It's just somewhere behind at the back of your mind for you to recall. Thank you.
Thanks, Sir Ridwan. Yeah, just to add on to that, another thing that we did last time, macam kita orang face to face answer physical question. So kalau korang nanti korang dah tulis, tapi jangan tulis sebelum exam. Kalau tulis sebelum contoh start pukul 9 tu, korang dah buat pukul 8.30 tu, dia jadi macam cheating lah. But what we did last time at 9 AM, tulis siap-siap. Okay, these are the topics. Padahal memang dah dalam otak dah. Topics tu kan, contoh tadi yang kita share tadi tu, topics covered, introduction, sources, legislation, case law, tulis balik. At 9 AM tu tulis. Okay, bila di depan mata you tu, kalau you blank, lost tadi tu, you boleh macam tadi tu, you boleh trace balik. Ni soalan ni sebenarnya bawa topik yang mana. So pecahan dia apa. Tapi, oh ya, I lupa cakap time management tu, untuk korang plan time, buat skeleton semua tu, just give 5 maximum of daripada, so start exam pukul 9 sampai 9.5 minit atau 9-10 minit saja for you to plan time management yang I share tadi dan juga skeleton yang Sir Ridwan share tadi. Jangan lebih daripada tu. Nak bagi 15 minit ke apa ke, nanti kan akan ambil more time lah. So that is my suggestion. Okay. Alright. I think that our time is up. So thank you very much, Harith and everyone for your.
Thank you, Menadiba.
Thank you, Menadiba, for answering those questions. I genuinely hope everyone is very clear on our topics in the first slot. Moving on, I would like to invite our next speakers for our second slot, which is how to score Introduction to Islamic Law paper, which will be presented by Madam Badariah binti Haji Sadin and Miss Siti Farhanah binti Abu Hassan. I welcome the speakers.
Okay, Assalamualaikum all. We shall wait for Madam Badariah first. She will start the first session. Sekejap ya.
All right, Madam. Miss.
Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Madam.
All right.
Yes, Miss.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam, Madam.
Thank you so much, Mr. MC, Head Department, the advisor of MeLex, President, the Program Manager, all my friends in the Law Department, as well as all my students attending this program. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Okay, now it is my turn to actually give some tips some more tips on how to score in Introduction to Islamic Law paper. Okay, next. Okay, so basically these are a few guidelines, a few things I'm going to explain in our discussion. That is how to answer easy questions, sample of question, how to answer problems solving questions, and sample of questions. And on the answer problem solving questions, that will be done by Ms. Farhana. Okay, before I discuss this, okay, next. Just to remind all of you, we have already confirmed timetable, time schedule for the examination. Yeah. That is on the 15th of November 2021. That is on Monday. And the time is 2:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. and the duration is 3 hours. And the platform is Google Document and Google Classroom. Okay, since this is actually an online examination, okay, normally if this is actually in the examination hall, the time is about 2.5 hours. But we give another 15 hours, 15 minutes, okay, extra to actually to ensure that things, I mean technical, things like your internet connections and maybe apa-apalah kan regarding internet is can be prepared earlier and things like that. And sometimes you also call lecturer in the middle of the exam, panic sekejap kan, asking macam mana ni dah tersubmit and things like that. So we give this extra minutes to respond to that issues. Okay, next. Okay, for the Islamic law paper, Introduction to Islamic Law paper, okay, the final exam is actually 40%. And I think this is also similar to Introduction to Law. The final exam is only 40%. In other words, the 60% is taken from the assessment that we had throughout the semester, from the very beginning until the end of the semester. Okay, for example, for Islamic law, we have like task-make, we have quiz 2, assignment 1, assignment 2. So these are all actually carry about 60%, and final exam is only 40%. Okay. Now, and regarding topics to be covered, okay, I think the lecturer in CFS, we are good enough to share with the students what are the topics to be asked in the final exam. Tak ada rahsia dah kan. We don't say that from beginning to the end. Kita tak pernah sebut macam tu. We always mention, okay, this is the topic from week 8 till week 12. Okay, so week 8 is actually the topic on the development of fiqh during Prophet period, and then week 12 is the era of the Uthmaniyah. Okay, so these are the areas of for the final exam, that is the 40%. Okay, next. Okay, I should be thankful to my friend just now, Madam Adiba. She has actually explained details. I don't have actually to mention anything. Relax je, dengar je kan. Okay. Thank you so much for that. And that whatever mentioned by Madam Adiba just now, okay, also applicable for the Islamic law papers. Okay, boleh katakan, I think semualah kan, except of course you have to answer Islamic law paper. So insyaAllah throughout our discussion today, myself and Ms. Farhana pasti we will try to to tune ourselves, okay, in a mode of the Islamic law subject, okay. But basically semua dia punya apa nak kata, all the preparation, the long notes and short notes, semua. Okay, if you do that for ITL, you should also do that for ETL. Okay, our format, okay, cuma the difference between Islamic law paper and ITL is that we have one part that we mentioned this as problem solving question. Okay, but this will be explained by inshallah by Ms. Farhana. But for the for the format, first one, short essay and long essay, this is actually similar with ITL. Okay, short essay normally we define if based on the marks. So Madam Adiba mentioned about marks. Look at the marks, right? Okay, look at the time and so on. Semua tu. Okay, so short essay normally the marks is between 5 to 6. Okay, and then we consider that as long essay if the mark is between 8 and 12. So sekarang ni untuk final exam dah tak ada dah MCQ semuanya essay. The essay is either short or long essay. Okay, next. Okay, so now we come to the part how to answer essay question. Okay, and to tips to be shared. Okay, there are few things can guide. I mean, when you are in the examination hall or you are in your own room to answer to start answer the question. So you punya mode tu kan dia kena tafakur dulu kan okay, and then once you have the opportunity at the question kan you have to look at all the questions. Baca dulu soalan-soalan tu, go through the questions and you take note the marks and as Madam Adiba mentioned the time kan allocation of time. Yang itu sepatutnya you dah buat dah pandai dah, because your ITL punya paper rasanya Friday and Islamic law paper is after that that is on Monday, right? So you should actually learn on the preparation kan how you prepare for ITL, macam tu jugalah you prepare for ETL. So you be guided by the marks. As I mentioned, 5 to 6 marks. This is considered as short essay. And for short essay, normally we don't have to have introduction and conclusion. Okay, it's just straight to the points. But yeah, sometimes students did I think macam kita punya depends also on your punya style kan. Some people sebelum nak tulis tu tak sedapnya nak tulis straight to the point kan. You still want to write introduction. So don't write long introduction. Okay, just nak macam kita nak pergi warm up aja, nak warming up kan so just write 1 or 2 lines, okay, and then just straight to the point, okay, and then kalau tak sedap tak start the conclusion, then 1 line of conclusion, because this is a short essay, okay. What is important is you go straight to the point. Yang point tu sebenarnya yang kita nak tengok ya. Okay. Next. And for questions like long essay, yang ini kita pakai long essay if the marks are from the punya range from 8 to 12 marks. So it can be 9 or 10 kan marks. And for this it requires the nak kata apa format that is your introduction. Yang ni introduction macam Madam Adiba sebutlah kan introduction yang macam mana yang sesuai kan and then contents. Okay, so contents comprise of the explanation or the discussion of the topic, and you do it in paragraph and you separate the paragraph and so on, and last is the conclusion. Sometimes students yalah during the face to face time students selalu soalan favorite lah dia kata kalau long essay ni kalau markah 10 12 markah ni berapa muka surat. Okay, how many pages kan sebab kita tulis atas kertas kan so how many pages saja kita pun depends on your size of handwriting kan. Dia handwriting yang besar tu banyaklah pages dia. Ada yang kecil-kecil sikit lah pages dia, but roughly cannot be less than 1 page. Okay, so kalau markah banyak ni sebenarnya pagesnya pun banyak lah. Right, kalau tulis 2-3 pages tu orang kata kalau banyak idea tu anytime insyaAllah But I think when we have the online punya answering ni sebenarnya belum dapat lagi berapa kalau berapa paragraph, because it depends also on how students structure the answer. Sebab ada yang jawab the single line kan ada yang jawab 1.5, so it depends. Yang penting ialah you have you meet the requirement, that is the introduction ada, and then the content and also the conclusion. Okay, next. Okay, so for our subject for Islamic law, of course you have to answer your answers are in terms of points, right? But you have to explain, you have to elaborate in paragraphs. Okay, and I hope you know what is the meaning of paragraph. Okay, and in between paragraph tu dia kena, kalau boleh lah you leave one line because it will be easier for the lecturer to mark your answers later daripada you start daripada sometimes sudah ditulis pada tepi sampailah hujung and then tepi balik and then semua start tepi, tak tahu yang mana satu paragraph, right? Tak ada paragraph langsung. So this is actually very bad and affect also the marking of the lecturer. Sementara tu kan let me just explain. Lecturer ni manusia biasa kan? Okay. When we mark the students punya answers kan sometimes bila kita tengok, kita go through, kita akan dapat paper, kita akan tengok semua lah kan sudah jawab panjang pendek semua. Kadang-kadang kita tahu sudah question number 1 tak berjawab, so contohnya kan question yang lain-lain panjang and things like that. So we have some idea about the answers of the question. So you bayangkan kalau you write properly in paragraph. Okay, itu kena perlahankan so dah lupa dah. Okay, the apa kata perception of the marker or the examiner is actually different when dia tengok mula-mula saja tengok cantik, ada dengan paragraph dalam paragraph, and then between paragraph ada demarcation line and so on, kan nampak mesra kan nampak cantik, nampak teratur, right? So dia punya understanding tu terus positif tau, walaupun dia belum baca lagi jawapan tu. Okay, so that's why kalau if you punya jawapan tu pun bagus pun, tapi kalau you punya arrangement very bad, okay, jangan terkejut kalau kita tak perasan pun dekat mana you punya point, sebab apa, semuanya berterabur. And this time lagi because you have to type, and kita pula baca you punya jawapan tu yang bertype tu, okay, then dia punya impact dia pun ada tau kadang-kadang kita mata penat dan sebagainya, so make sure you do it in paragraph, jadi kita pun dapat you are able to see and read kan dengan tenang dan bagi markah juga dengan tenang. Okay, so if you give, sometimes students dah terkejut masa kan dia terus bagi dalam point form. Okay, we don't actually accept point forms. Okay, we want students to elaborate. Tapi kalau you dah last minute tu tak sempat, okay, yalah, daripada you tak tulis langsung kan, buatlah. Tapi That's why you are supposed to plan your time from the very beginning. So planning your work ni kan sangat penting kan because at the end of the time, at the end of the nanti you sendiri akan rasa apa kata puas hati. You feel satisfied with what you have done. You tak rasa menyesal. Tapi kalau you tak plan betul-betul, lepas habis you submit, you akan teringat-ingat kan memang kita kata jangan ingat, kita ingat benda lain pula nak belajar. Ya, kita boleh advise student like that, tapi kita diri sendiri, that's why you sendiri you have to plan properly, plan the time and what draft as mentioned just now. Okay, next. Okay, I think Madam Adibah did this very well. Sebab kita sama je sebenarnya kan, exam ni kita tanya how we ask question. Kita ada kita punya guide, guiding words, kita panggil sebagai action words, macam word analyze, describe, explain, discuss, compare and contrast and distinguish. I think this one already explained by Madam Adibah, so Madam tak nak banyak-banyak sangatlah bincangkan. Cuma I think I should mention in ITIL, tadi kalau Madam Adibah tunjuk soalan list kan, state ke apa ke, normally kalau dalam ITIL kuranglah ada soalan yang macam tu. Adalah, takkan tak ada kan, tapi again kalau ada pun list ke state, you need to explain kan juga kan. Jangan biarkan betul aja jawapannya, kena juga explain in few words. Okay, apa words yang popular dalam exam? Okay, maybe kita tengok analyze, ini popular, describe, explain, yang kita tulis lah discuss. Okay, compare, contrast, distinguish. These are all popular action words for the examination. And then Madam pun dalam pencarian jugalah jumpa juga a few other words. For example, dia lebih kurang sama je. Cuma words yang lain daripada tu. Contoh mana dalam ni examine, yang lain-lain sikit. Examine, elaborate. Okay, itu adalah another action words, but the meaning is actually quite similar to describe, explain and so on. Okay, next. Okay, this one macam nampak sangat very technical kan kalau analyze tu dia nak apa kan analyze tu nak apa, lebih kurang macam ni lah kan analyze tu what you have to do is divide or break down the subject matter into parts, reason, aspect and so on. Okay, next. Kita laju sikit. Okay, describe. So I just nak beritahu you all lah kan antara analyze dengan describe ni. Analyze normally is a question, I mean the action word for the long essay normally, and describe normally is the action word for the short essay. Sebab apa? Dia punya content, dia punya definition pun kita faham. Kalau describe, give a detailed written account of the distinctive features of a subject. Account should be factual without any attempt to explain. So sebenarnya bila describe tu dia tak perlu ada explanation yang begitu panjang. So dia sesuai untuk short essay. Okay, next. Okay, this one is explain. So explain ni dia depends on marks. Bila you jumpa perkataan explain, dia nak panjang ke pendek kan? So explain ni dia boleh jadi panjang, dia boleh jadi juga untuk pendek. So depends on the mark. Okay, tengok markah berapa. Kalau explain tu 10 markah, banyaklah yang kena cakap kan. Kalau explain tu maybe katalah 5 or 6 marks. So explain tu yang berkenaan saja. Okay, so explain means provide an understanding, make an idea or relationship clear. This command would test your understanding of why or how something happens. So explain ni, ya, dia lebih menjawab kepada soalan, why and also how. Okay, next. Okay, discuss. Discuss normally is normally used in the long essay question. Okay, kalau long essay question dia ada requirement yang penting. Contohnya dia perlukan critical discussion. Okay, sometimes soalan discuss ni dia minta kita punya personal opinion on something. So kita kena jawab soalan. Okay, kita kata kalau soalan kita kena jawab soalan lah. Soalan minta your understanding, your own example, then you need to actually respond to that question. So discuss, give a critical account of the points involved in a topic. You are expected to put both sides of a case or an issue in your answer and to make some evaluation comments about the factor you are discussing. Okay, yang ini depends on question lah kan. Maksudnya discuss ni require ada critical discussion on the whatever points that we discussed. Okay, next. Okay, so just like mentioned earlier on compare and contrast. Okay, compare and contrast. This is actually by showing the similarities and differences between the two sets of information. So compare dengan maksudnya compare and contrast dia kena ada dua-dua. Where you put the similarities between two things and the differences between two things. Kalau kita contohlah kan, tajuk ini tak keluar lah kan. Kita nak kata compare and contrast, contohnya ijma' dengan apa tu, kias contohnya kan. Okay, compare and contrast. Maksudnya kita highlight the similarities between ijma' and kias, and then contrast maksudnya kita differentiate apa yang berbeza between the two sets. Ataupun kalau yang lebih relevant our topic, contohnya kan compare contrast, tulis juga ni compare and contrast the approach of the madrasah Ahlul Al-Hadis and madrasah Ahlul Al-Ra'i, okay, with regard to the personal opinion and the hypothetical fiqh. Okay, so you have to mention the similarities, okay, dekat mana mereka yang sama dan juga dekat mana mereka berbeza. Okay, next. Okay, distinguish. Sometimes the question only asks you to distinguish. So bila distinguish ni dia kena sebutkan the differences between the two. Apa yang berbeza? Okay, and then separate into kinds, classes or categories. Okay, I also have the example for distinguish. Contohnya kan distinguish the sources of law used by the Hanafi mazhab. Okay, so distinguish the sources of law used by Hanafi mazhab. So sekarang ni bila distinguish, we have to present the differences. Kita kena highlight kan dia punya differences. Apa maksudnya kat sini? Kita kena beritahu yang berbeza, the sources used by Hanafi mazhab. For example, kita beritahu the secondary sources kan, istihsan, kemudian apa lagi yang kita ni mungkin huruf ke kita nak highlight, because kita tak perlu pun nak explain tentang Quran, sunnah semua tu, because benda tu ada perkara yang dah sama kan dengan other mazhab. Cuma kita nak distinguish, maksudnya kita nak highlight apa yang berbeza. Apa ni, the source which is different, which is not used by other mazhab. Okay, next. Okay, this is actually taken from the previous exam. I want you to read the question properly kan. Ada soalan dia, discuss the principle of gradation in legislation and how it protects the interest of mankind. Okay, and this is 10 marks. Okay, actually when you read as mentioned earlier, there are keywords kan and then you tengok dia actually ada two parts of question. Okay, part pertama ialah principle of gradation in legislation. Yang itu kita kena bincang. And then how it protects the interest of mankind. Okay, so that is the second part. Okay, so this is actually kita nak kata mungkin options lah kan, pilihan kepada soalan seperti ini, macam mana sampel jawapannya. Okay. So this is 10 marks. So ingat dia ada introduction, dia ada contents dan conclusion. So for the contents ni, dalam contents tu, you actually will should be able to divide the answers into dua benda. Okay. Just how I mentioned about the concept of gradation in legislation. So this part must be written by student. So student kena jawab, kena ada jawapan ni. Apakah dia the concept of gradation in legislation. Okay, ini dah belajar lah kan, adalah dalam nota kita. And then also not to forget the reasons for the gradation of legislation. Okay, and then the second part that we have to answer ialah how it protects the interest of mankind. Okay, yang ini kalau you all kata kebat ke apa kan, this one is not kita kata direct kan daripada kita punya slide, daripada kita punya lectures dan sebagainya kan. Ini adalah student punya cara fikir masing-masing. Okay, what is the meaning of interest of mankind? Okay, itu so biasalah kan student akan menjawab berbagai-bagai. Menadibah tadi cakap kita semua student kita memang very positif lah sebenarnya. You all senang, kau jawab je nanti. Kan soalan macam mana you all tu tak jawab. Kita tahu tak ada yang kata tak boleh jawab. Semua kata boleh jawab insya-Allah. Okay, so what are the options yang kita boleh buat to answer to this question? Okay, so kita boleh pilih, ini salah satu pilihan lah by using the 3 types of legislation. Hopefully kita tahulah apa 3 types tu kan. Student must explain and relate each one of it to the protection of the interest of mankind. So ini adalah salah satu cara lah kalau kita nak menjawab on the protects the interest of mankind. Okay, next. Ini question yang pendek sekejap. Okay. Okay. The question, tengok 6 marks. Describe the noble attitudes of the companions in exercising ijtihad. Okay. Sambil-sambil cakap ni, sampai dia bagi tips juga lah. You all bila baca soalan, you all kena pasti ini daripada topik mana. Sebab soalan tu bila dia dah campur 1, 2, 3, 4 semua tu kan. So you all kata, first part, ni soalan daripada topik ni, topik prophet. Yang kedua ni topik companion. Third ni topik umayyad. Kan yang dan seterusnya lah. Okay, soalan mungkin ada A, B and so on. Okay. So you all make sure A ni daripada mungkin topik Abbasid contohnya kan, B daripada Uthmaniyah contohnya. Okay, so you just kena pasti Okay, coming back to this part. Ini soalan 6 marks. Dia boleh jadi soalan ni dia berakit dia kawan dengan soalan ni maybe A, maybe ada B Okay. Tapi tak apa, kita take this one as an example. Describe the noble attitudes of the companions in exercising ijtihad. Tadi 6 marks. And this actually does not require introduction and conclusion. Sebab sebenarnya biasanya soalan macam ni kita tak ada markah, kita tak provide marks. Tapi kalau student punya style, even kalau saya punya style pun saya tetap akan adakan intro jugalah, at least ini zaman siapa kita bagi tahu kan. Okay, nama-nama ke, tahun bila ke kan, as an intro. Then yang penting ialah the noble attitudes, maksudnya example of the noble attitudes. And kita tengok markah 6 marks. Normally, I think kita dah mudah sebab kita ada contoh tadi kan. I remember Madam Adibah sebutkan pasal kalau 6 marks ni maybe kita boleh bagi 3 points. Saya tak sebut berapa point kan. So kita punya agakkan lah kalau soalannya 6 markah, maybe dia perlukan 3 point and each point will carry 2 marks. Okay, so Madam bagi contoh lah jawapan-jawapan yang ada ni dalam textbook pun ada ni kan, you all boleh baca. Okay, first noble attitude. Okay, if the companion already gave opinion on certain issue semua kan and second they also respected the views of each other, semua explain lah sampai habis. And number 3, if there is any practice that contradict with the Quran and Sunnah dan sebagainya. And between these points, the points must be elaborated in paragraph dan juga kena selang lah, kena ada I mean the next line lah, jangan buat semua dalam satu paragraph, satu muka surat so you selangkan because then it will be easy. Dan satu lagi, bila you tengah jawab, maybe you katalah you tengah tulis the first point kan, and then you tak ingat kan, then you go to the next point. So bila you bagi selang kan, you bagi selang then it will be easier sebenarnya. You nampak part yang pertama ni tak habis kan, then you masuk the second example kan. It will be actually for you, it will be easier for you to trace. Okay, which part actually you need to go back and complete before you submit. Kalau you buat semua dalam satu ketul macam tu kan, it will be very difficult. Tapi I rasa dalam kita punya zaman online ni sebenarnya tak banyak masalah kan, because you boleh buat benda tu, you boleh before you submit you boleh buat balik kan, you boleh paragraphkan whatsoever. So please do that. Okay, tolonglah if you have the opportunity of putting it back properly in paragraph and then selangkan paragraph before you submit the answers, before you turn in. Okay, make sure you dah buat dah benda tu. Jangan bagi macam tu saja. Okay, next. Okay, next. Okay, basically I think for Islamic law kita punya this one lah, kita punya apa nak kata specialty kan ialah ayat Quran. Betul tak? Okay, this is an example. Ni soalan ni dia taken from the textbook. Okay, kita tengok the Quranic legislation review in Makkah were more focused on strengthening the foundation of Islamic belief system and the importance of moral conduct. Okay, taken from the textbook. Okay, tengok apa dia punya action word. Analyze the above statement and support your answer with relevant Quranic verse. Okay, so apa kita baca dan kita tahu this is taken from ni, dan kita tahu this is regarding the revelation in Makkah. Dan dah sebut pun sebenarnya kita kena bincangkan dua benda sebenarnya kan in the content. So you have the introduction. In the content, basically there are two parts. First part ialah where we actually analyze the Meccan revelation yang fokus on the principle of building the faith or iman, and kita explain mengapa. Okay, mengapa? Okay, do you explain that? And in your discussion, bila dalam you punya explanation, semua tu, then you need to support with the Quranic verse. Okay, how many Quranic verse is not mentioned, just stated. So logically, okay, kalau dapat 2 ayat Quran for each part, tapi kalau tak ingat pun dapat 1 pun cukup, because it is not actually stated. Yang penting ialah kita punya discussion on the first part tadi tentang building of faith or iman. So you kena menjawab tu mengapa because of the question actually ask you on the analyze, so you need to analyze. And then second, part is the method revelation focus on the importance of moral conduct or akhlak. Okay, why? Okay. So on the why ni, okay, you kena pandai explain lah kan, you punya cara lah kan, but don't forget to support your answer dengan ayat Quran. Okay, so ayat Quran yang related to the moral conduct. Okay, for part 2 and the ayat Quran related to iman for first part. Then, okay, we write the conclusion. Okay. Okay, how much time I have? Brother Haris? Ada masa lagi?
Yes, madam. You
Ada.
have until 11:15.
Okay, thank you. Next. Okay, oh, this one is Miss Farhana punya part. Okay, Miss Farhana, do you mind? I nak pergi balik dekat question yang atas tadi. Because okay, this one ya. Okay, class, memang kita punya soalan Islamic law ni dia akan sentiasa ada dengan soalannya support your answer with one Quranic verse, support your answer with Quranic verse or hadith and so on. Just nak peringatkanlah. Just now, okay, kita punya first speaker dah mention kalau ada apa-apa dia punya requirement, okay, please respond to that requirement. If the question actually asks us to give 2 Quranic ayat, so we need to give 2 Quranic ayat. Okay, so mungkin you all akan tanya, madam kalau kita bagi 3, 4, bagilah tak apa, kita nak 2 je kan. Okay, macam kita kata, kita rugilah you punya time kan. Rugilah you punya time sebab sepatutnya you boleh elaborate benda lain kan, or maybe kan ayat Quran itself, the ayat Quran, I think I kena sebut jugalah macam mana, how do you have to write the Quranic ayat in the answers, betul tak? Maybe yang ni relevant untuk you punya jawapan nanti. Okay, class, during the face-to-face time, maksudnya you answer dalam answer script kan, kita akan bagi markah yang kita kata full mark. Okay, kita punya expectation dengan student ni memang sangat dahsyat kan. We want the student to write the Quranic ayat tu, kalau boleh ada dia punya translation dan juga dia punya explanation on this. Itu kita consider sebagai full mark. Okay. Tapi kan now unfortunately due to the kita punya online punya time okay, we cannot expect students to write the answers gunakan ayat cari pula, nak kena copy paste pula kan ayat Quran. Tak, kita terpaksalah at least kan make it simpler in the sense that kalau ada soalan yang require student to give the Quranic ayat, apa yang kita kata full mark, okay, apa yang kita katakan full mark ialah bila student able to write the number of the surah, the name of the surah and correct name of the surah, correct number of the ayat, betul surah dan juga ayat benda tu semua betul, okay. And then at least you bagi sedikit dia punya translation kan, translation yang mana-mana yang kita ingat. Dan yang penting student elaborate the gist of the ayat. Yang itu yang kita nak dan kita katakan sebagai full mark. Maybe you kata, madam kalau kita lupa, ni soalan madam jawab dululah kalau you tanya kan, madam kalau kita lupa salah surah, salah ayat, kita kata kalau full mark ada, kalau bagi kalau you salah surah dan salah ayat whatsoever, of course tak ada markah penuh lah kat situ kan, tapi tidaklah salah because kalau you punya jawapan yang itu betul, it is considered sebagai jawapan, so you dapat sebahagian lah daripada markah. Maksudnya kalau full mark tu katalah 3 katalah kan, ataupun 2 kan. Kalau yang you bagi tu adalah ayat betul, you bagi dengan explanation tapi nombor ayat tu salah. So kita potonglah sikit markah ya kat situ. Tapi kalau you pergi, maksudnya now ya pada madam lah, yang penting once you know kita punya ni, sekarang ni jadikan you punya, kita punya practice lah ya, dalam kita punya apa ni, memorization kita ke, kita ingat number surah, the name of the surah ya. The number of the surah ni kadang-kadang kadang boleh jadi confused kan, tapi kalau nama surah mungkin kita rasa kita ingat, and also the number of the ayat. Okay, jadikan itu dalam kita punya amalan. Contohnya Al-Baqarah ayat number, katalah number 10, kita Al-Baqarah ayat number 30, in surah katalah Al-Mu'minun ayat number 12 tu number, kita jadikan dia sebagai part of kita punya apa, preparation when we study ataupun kita prepare short notes semua tu ya. Okay. Okay, on my part, apa lagi I boleh share? I have this, I tengok jugalah sample dalam exam yang lepas-lepas, explain two methods of Quranic legislation. Okay, soalan pernah explain, dan ini markahnya berapa ya? Lupa tu markah, tapi tak explain saja, so tak banyak. Explain two methods of Quranic legislation. So ingat method of Quranic legislation tu yang ada 3 tu, tapi kita nak 2. Support your answer with 1 Quranic verse each. Okay, so for each method tu kena ada 1 dia punya verse that we write to support our answer. Dan juga satu lagi contoh yang previous exam, examine 2 rulings which were abrogated during the period of the development of fiqh. Okay, support your answer with Quranic verse or hadith. Okay, so sometimes question ni dia minta kita bagi Quranic ayat dan hadis and hadis. Okay, yang itu kita kena jawab. Quranic ayat and hadis. So kena ada Quranic ayat and hadis. Tapi kalau dia kata Quranic ayat or hadis, so is either one. Okay, sama ada you bagi Quranic ayat ataupun you bagi hadis. Okay, macam mana kalau you bagi dua-dua pun tak ada masalah kan? Bagilah dua-dua, kita okey je kan? Okay. Okay, I think that's all from me. Maybe kalau ada ke Miss Farhana nak teruskan ke? Macam mana, Mr. MC?
Boleh Q&A madam ataupun nak sambung ikut madam. Tapi 11:15 habis.
Okay. Kalau macam tu I rasa I will stop untuk question and answer. Mungkin ada membantu juga nanti.
Right madam. So we open for questions in the chat box guys. You can type it down on the chat. Oh yes, you can. Yeah. Silakan.
Okay, sorry. Excuse you, madam. Just now, madam said that for online, exam ni, we don't have to write the verse, the Quranic verse or the hadith. Yes, madam.
Okay. Okay, I answer your question. Okay, just now I mentioned about we don't put as a requirement for full mark. Kalau dulu kita jadikan requirement full mark bila student able to write the ayat itself. Okay. For example, katalah la ikraha fi din, for example, la ikraha fi ad-din, right? Okay, so you kata no compulsion in religion, surah. Okay, that one is actually full mark untuk zaman dululah, zaman ni. But now we don't put that as a requirement, as a requirement for full mark. Tapi, okay, katakanlah you have in you punya you punya software tu ada ayat Quran contohnya. Of course kita welcome you all punya jawapan yang lengkap seperti itu. Tapi kita tak bagi dia sebagai we don't put that as a requirement sebab kita kena kita kena cakap apa ya, because we understand that not all students able to write di Quranic ayat ataupun able to have the software yang macam tu. So kita kena moderate lah, maksudnya kita kena berada di pertengahan lah. Kalau kita nak bagi yang full mark, biarlah benda yang semua student boleh buat. Tapi in case you have already in you punya ni, tak ada masalah. We always welcome. Of course yang itu akan dapat markah lagi kan. Okay. And I see the question. Yeah.
So madam, if I want to write the Quranic verse or hadith, do I have to write it like the full verse or like potongan pun boleh?
Yes.
Potongan.
Kalau di contohlah ya Ziad, katalah soalan dan ayat yang you perlukan ialah surah Al-Mujadalah kan, ataupun surah An-Nur, ada ayat yang panjang 2-3 ayat. I think we accept sebagai jawapan. Okay, when student able to bagi dia potongan, the relevant part sahaja. Contohnya surah kata Mujadalah kan, ayat panjang ni, the part yang betul-betul relevant itu sahaja yang you need, and then you give translation and then you come up with the discussion on the ayat. We accept that. Okay, tak perlu tulis satu ayat yang panjang walaupun you mungkin hafal ayat tu kan, tapi kita tak perlukan. Kita perlukan the relevant part sahaja.
Okay, thank you madam.
Welcome. Okay, ada question lagi dekat chat box Madam, tengok sekejap. From Nur Fayad Nur Fayad. Bukakan sebelum tu question compare and contrast dengan soalan okay. And then contoh nak jawab conclusion macam mana, just restating our points ke, I can get the full view of how we answer the conclusion part. Okay, so madam cuba jawab dua sekali ni lah Okay, what is the difference between compare and contrast dengan soalan distinguish? Okay. Dia nampak sama tapi tak serupa lah. Itu kita kata compare and contrast. Tadi dia perlukan kita compare dengan by showing the similarities, dan juga at the same time kita tunjukkan apa yang berbeza. So dua benda yang sama and dengan yang berbeza is actually answered dalam satu soalan. Okay. Tapi kalau distinguish, bezakan, kita lebih highlight dia punya kelainan. Okay, dia punya kelainan berbanding dengan yang lain. Of course nanti you akan sampai juga dengan kata-kata yang mengatakan yang persamaan yang lain, tapi that is not important. Yang important ialah apa yang berbeza. I mentioned just now the example yang the distinguish kan the sources used by Hanafi mazhab contohnya. Okay, bila kita belajar tentang mazhab kan, kita tahu kebanyakan the sources lebih kurang sama je, at least the first 4 tu sama, tapi yang berbeza ialah the secondary sources. So yang kita nak you highlight, when you mention when you distinguish tu sebenarnya ialah bila you explain on the sources yang lain daripada yang mazhab lain gunakan, contohnya istihsan, uruf and other things. Okay, selalunya soalan tu dia taklah panjang sangat. Dia bukan soalan long essay selalunya itu short essay saja. Okay, tadi compare contrast. Dengan satu lagi apa tadi? Lupa pula. Apa madam?
Contoh nak jawab conclusion macam mana madam? Just restating our points ke? I can get a full view of how we answer the conclusion part.
Okay, kalau conclusion ini rasanya tak beza kot dengan style tadi kan ITL Tapi kalau conclusion require is normally to be done in a long essay, betul tak So yang penting bila conclusion kita conclude, kita reflect balik apa ada dalam soalan. Okay. katakanlah soalan yang depan kita ni kan di apa ni statement taken from the textbook. Okay, so what is the best conclusion kat sini? Kita boleh, contohnya kita boleh bagi, kita boleh cakap apa ni di Meccan revelation ni had helped apa ni the Muslim at the time when they migrated kan they were apa nak kata maksudnya dia punya iman dia lebih kuat dan sebagainya. Itulah dia punya conclusion. At least you tidak biarkan dia punya jawapan tu tergantung-gantung. Okay. Actually tak adalah mesti ada satu formula, right? Conclusion ni mesti begini, right? Tapi at least conclusion ialah something yang kita kata the verse ataupun kita punya essay ke kita punya apa whatever we write boleh bantu to the whatever we have mentioned in the beginning. Okay. Okay, boleh apa lagi Miss Fana?
Kalau tak letak baris kat ayat Quran tu tak apa ke?
Okay, just now I mention ayat Quran kita kata ayat Quran tu is not now become a compulsory in the sense that you dah dapat full mark kan maksudnya you tak letak pun tak apa. In case you letak tak perlu pun letak baris pun sebenarnya. Okay. Ada banyak masa. Okay. Kalau kata sudah ada banyak masa lah, tak tahu ada lagi setengah jam, tak tahu nak buat apa lah. Letaklah baris. Jangan, okay. Just like IPL kan. Once you have done, you dah tak tahu nak buat apa kan. My advice jangan submit dulu. Tolong jangan submit. Jangan happy sangat you dah siap. And then you, macam imagine you are in the examination hall. I perasan kadang student, bila dia rasa macam seronok tau bila dia submit, lepas tu dia keluar, lepas tu dia happy-happy dengan kawan dia kan kita teacher kan, lepas student hantar tu kita akan tengok balik dan kita akan rasa sayang betul kalau lah dia duduk lagi at least lagi 15 minit ni kan, setengah jam ke lagi, ada banyak benda dia boleh baca. Memang student kadang kita kata dah tak tahu nak buat apa lagi. It's okay, you duduk aja diam-diam kat situ. Istighfar banyak-banyak. Maybe ada benda yang you boleh buat. Tadi kita kata ayat Quran nak letak baris. Letaklah masa tu lagi letak baris. Kan? Lagi apa? Hadis apa ni tiba-tiba teringat pula siapa periwayat hadisnya kan? Tulis kan? Okay. You buat the best you can. You tulis macam you rasa ini lecturer ni dia macam tak tahu apa-apa. I remember that was what was mentioned by my lecturer dulu-dulu zaman-zaman I belajar kan. Tulis saja detail macam you punya examiner ni tak tahu apa-apa. So you jangan rasa macam okay kot dia faham kot. Satu ayat yang dia faham kot. Memanglah that will actually you might lose your mark. Okay, macam Madam Alibah sebutkan, sometimes kita stay lagi sampai sampai end of the time kan, kadang-kadang make difference. Kita punya jawapan ni kadang-kadang penambahan-penambahan the very last minute, and then kadang kita check kita punya grammar balik kan kita punya apa lagi yang kita nak tambah-tambah kan, dia kadang make difference. And betul tahu markah, setengah markah okay, dia boleh menjadikan student ni ada dalam kategori A minus ataupun A. Setengah markah boleh membezakan. So rugi. So you every time you are in the examination hall or in the examination mode, please duduk diam-diam sampai habis barulah submit. And in between tu janganlah pula gatal-gatal buka textbook ke apa kan. So that textbook you ni sepatutnya kena simpan awal-awal. Exam saja dah habis dah baca, simpan. Dan selebihnya you duduk awal for your paper. Kita punya exam start pukul petang kan, 2:30 tu kan. So before 2:30 tu, before kita share exam paper tu, you duduk macam kita kata dekat examination hall, you duduk sebelah dengan pen and paper. Kan apa dalam kepala otak kita waktu tu, ayat Quran surah apa, tulis je dulu. Kan apa yang kita belajar. Okey, topik apa, soalan apa nak kata, ayat Quran ke hadis ke yang kita ingat. Just buat dia punya tulis je on paper. Okay, and then bila kita dapat soalan dan only kita tahu, oh this one relevant, this one relevant. So begitulah insya-Allah ya. And lagi satu ya, kita our students ni memang we already you have to take oath lah as if kan that you will not actually copy from the text ke ataupun mana-mana sources kan tapi sebenarnya ada je students yang menipu dan meniru ya, ada saja. So sebenarnya kami ni kan teachers, bila kita mark paper student, kita ni macam sekilas ikan di air telah ku tahu jantan betina lah. Bila kita baca student yang jawapan, kita tahu student ni tiru. Cuma kita tak ada bukti kan. Kita tak pernah so you on kan you punya kamera ke apa. Kita boleh rasa tau student ni meniru. So please lah, jangan meniru. Teacher ni kadang dia boleh rasa dan bayangkan kalau you meniru dan kadang kita tak ada pilihan, kita bagi you markah besar lah because berjaya meniru kan. Okay, mestilah jawapannya betul. Tapi the consequences, ya, nanti takut masa tu by that time you menyesal pula. You akan teringat tau benda ni. Bila you dah lalui dah ni, bila ada masalah je, bila bekerja ada je tak kena, ada je macam, then you go back, you check balik kan kat mana kita punya masalah ni bermula. It can bermula as kata apa? Ialah yang perkara yang kita tak sangka-sangka. So bila kita kata jangan tiru, tolong jangan tiru dan carilah. I mean, you sembunyikanlah textbook tu. Sebab takut nampak textbook ni kan rasa gian pula nak buka kan. Buat macam tu. Okay?
Yes. Sorry to interrupt, Madam, but I just want to add. I like the point that you highlighted. Macam the book is actually a temptation. So kalau awak jawab dekat laptop, buku tu kat sebelah, alah aku nak tengok table of content je, alah nak tengok yang ni sikit je. So that's the temptation that you should avoid. So how to avoid? I agree with Madam Bat, put away the books far away. Sebab tu kita waktu bulan puasa kita tengok makanan pun makruh kan. Takut mengganggu gugat iman. So good idea from Madam Badaria. Thank you very much.
Okay, rasanya itu je kot. Ada lagi ke Mr. MC?
So baru dapat update daripada program manager. Dia kata nak extend sikit sampai 11.30 untuk Madam Farhana kalau dia nak add on apa-apa or present anything.
Okay, I think now we should allow Ms. Farhana pula untuk lepas.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. So I have until 11:30 to present my part. Thank you very much, Madam Badaria, for a very detailed explanation and elaboration on how to answer essay question. Basically, you have the idea on how to answer essay question already from Madam Badaria as well as from Ms. Adiba. So for my part, okay, I will be discussing with you guys on how to answer problem solving questions. Okay, sebab I only have 15 minutes to finish my presentation. If I am too fast, please notify me. Okay, so as mentioned previously by Madam Badaria, for introduction to Islamic law end of semester examination question paper, there will be two parts of the question. Okay, the format of the question, there will be two parts of the question. The question will consist of essay question, okay, as what was previously explained by Madam Badaria, and another one, it will be problem solving question. Okay, so now not only you have to know how to answer essay question, okay, but in order to score introduction to Islamic law end of semester examination paper, you have to know how to answer problem solving question as well. All right, so firstly, why we need to have a separate session? Okay, why we need to have separate session between answering essay question and answering problem solving question? Okay, because answering problem solving question, it requires a wholly different approach to essay writing and employs a different set of skills. So meaning that if you want to answer essay question, okay, these are the skills that you have to acquire. So these are the steps or formats that you have to follow in order to answer essay question. But for problem solving questions, the unique different approach, okay, when you are attempting to answer problem solving question. Okay, because problem solving question, it is actually an application of your knowledge of the law to a supposedly real life situation. So in other words, we will give you a scenario, a factual scenario in the question. Okay, you have to read the factual scenario and you have to identify the issue, okay, and try to give solution to that particular issue based on the relevant law. Okay, so meaning that problem solving question, it is not only the fact that you have to understand, you have to know the law, okay, you have to identify the law, but you have to know how to apply the law. Okay, meaning that in terms of the understanding of the law as well as the application of the law. Okay, so you need not only know the law you have been studying. Okay, basically when you are answering essay question, okay, you have to know what are the laws that you have been studying, what are the rules and principles that you have to state in answering those essay questions. Okay, but for problem solving question, you have to know the law. At the same time, you have to know how to apply the law in the given scenario. Okay, so in answering the problem solving question, okay, when you are given this scenario, firstly, what you have to do, obviously you have to read the scenario. Okay, please read the scenario given to you carefully. Okay, it is not a race against time. Maksudnya tak payah nak baca cepat-cepat in order for you to cepat-cepat jawab the question. Okay, because we give you ample time. Okay, please utilize your time properly. Okay, you have to utilize your time properly. So please read the scenario given to you properly. So while reading the scenario given to you, okay, make sure that you can identify all issues arising from the question. Okay, depending on the scenario or depending on the question given to you, okay, there might be possibility only one issue arise from that scenario. But if we give you quite a lengthy scenario, okay, lengthy facts of the case that you have to read, so maybe you need to identify 2 or more issues. So depending on the scenario given to you in the question, okay, how many issues that you have to arise, okay, from this scenario. And then secondly, when you are reading the scenario given, okay, you have to make sure that you can select the appropriate legal sources to help you deal with the issues that you have identified. Okay, meaning firstly, you have to identify the issue. And then secondly, whether you can select appropriate legal sources, okay, in order to answer the issue. Okay, legal sources as far as introduction to Islamic law is concerned, okay, meaning maybe you have to take a look at the verses of Quran, ataupun you can take from the Sunnah of the Prophet, ataupun from ijma', qiyas or other secondary sources of Islamic law. Okay, so you have to know about the law and how to search for the law because it relates to the legal sources as well. Okay, and then lastly, while you are reading the scenario given to you, okay, can you evaluate the way the law applies to the scenario and come up with the good advice at the end? Okay, because as I mentioned to you previously, when you are answering a problem solving question, at the end, your task is to give advice, okay, advice in the sense that it is the solution to the legal issue that you already identified. Okay, so make sure that when you are applying the law, you know how to evaluate the law and you know how to apply law to the given scenario, and you can come up with a good advice as the conclusion of your discussion. Okay, so introduction to IRAC. Basically what we need to discuss about IRAC. So IRAC is basically that the format that you have to follow or the structure of your answer, okay, when you are writing your answer for problem solving question. Okay, you have to include these 4 things in your answer. Okay, we expect that you include these 4 things in your answer. Okay, I, it stands for issues. Okay, you have to identify the issues. R, it stands for rules and relevant principles. Okay, you have to identify the rules or relevant principles related to the issue that you already identified. And then the next step is A. A, it stands for application. Okay, not only knowing, okay, the relevant principles involved in the given scenario, but you have to know how to apply the scenario as well. And the last part is your advice, basically C as the conclusion of your discussion. Okay, so firstly, I, okay, issues. Basically, after you read the scenario given to you, okay, you have to read the scenario given to you carefully. Okay, you have to extract the issues, okay, relevant to the scenario given. Okay, so always the first step in answering problem solving question is for you to identify the issues. Okay, so you have to read the question ataupun the scenario carefully, pausing after each sentence or paragraph to think about what it has said and any potential factual issues that might be raised. Okay, so basically isu ni adalah identification of the problem itself. Okay, sebab kalau kata isu ni basically the problem itself lah. Kalau kata you are arguing with your friends kan, mesti nak tahu okay apa isu bergaduh. Oh sebab pinjam duit tak bayar for example. Then the same thing, okay, from the scenario given to you ni, apa isunya, apa masalahnya dalam scenario given to you. Okay, that is your task to identify. So basically, if it is face-to-face exam, maybe you can use highlighter on a particular passage kan, so that kalau nanti you nak refer balik, you know you can refer to the highlighted part. Tapi because now it is an online examination, so mungkinlah you boleh guna highlighter kan, yang colour kuning tu, so that you highlight the important parts ataupun underline the important parts, so that you know where to go back, okay, when you need to read again the scenario. Okay, so facts based on the given scenario, when we are giving you the scenario, okay, the facts in the scenario, it must be for certain reasons. Maksudnya tak adalah saja-saja kita bagi scenario, saja nak bagi student baca, bagi hilang masa. No. Obviously, when we give you the scenario ataupun the facts in that particular question tu, there must be reasons behind it. Okay, so you have to trace lah. Okay, you have to apply your thinking process. Okay, you have to trace why these facts are given in the scenario, because there must be reasons why those facts are stated in the scenario. Okay, so you may have to construct some what ifs for yourself. Okay, dia jadi what ifs, ini jadi ahlu ra'i sikit, making the relevant assumption of facts. Okay, because sometimes fact tu dia maybe very brief. Okay, so in order for you to give complete answer, okay, you have to add what if. Okay, ask yourself, are there any other relevant facts that I need to inform my legal analysis? Okay, contohnya, katalah in the scenario given to you tu, dia adalah pasal divorce case. Okay, the husband mentioned to the wife, please go back to your parents' house. Okay, so now kita nak tahu whether dah jatuh talak or not. So in order to answer the question, because the lafaz, the statement given by the husband tu adalah kinayah punya type, okay, please go back to my husband, is not always amounting to divorce. Okay, so you have to put your what if ataupun you have to put your assumption. So meaning that in your answer you assume if the husband has the intention to say that please go back to your parents' house too, meaning that to divorce the wife, then jatuh talak. Okay, another assumption adalah, another what if adalah, if the husband he does not have the intention to divorce the wife, then dia tak jatuh talak. Okay, that is the meaning of what if. Okay, you are adding some sort of assumption, okay, when you are answering the question. Okay, next, some points to consider. Okay, look at what the facts are telling you and ask why you would need to be told this. Okay, sebab as I mentioned to you previously, when we are giving you the fact, there must be reasons behind that. Tak adalah macam bagi fact saja-saja, bagi je sajalah nak bagi student buang masa baca fact. No, there must be reasons behind that. And then you have to ask yourself, why these facts are stated like this and that. Okay, for example, kata dalam question tu, it says that the contract was made over the phone. Okay, ask yourself why we state the fact. Okay, why the contract was made over the phone. Okay, kenapa kita tak cakap the contract was made face to face? So instead of making the contract face to face, we said that the contract was made over the phone. So there must be reason, okay, why we inform you that the contract was made over the phone. Okay, so sebab tu all the facts given to you tu, you have to consider and you have to ask yourself why we tell you these facts. Okay, and then remember that the writer of the question has to design it to raise legal issues that you can analyze. When we are preparing examination question, obviously when we are drafting the scenario tu, mestilah we have to make sure that you can identify the legal issue. So tak adalah when we are preparing the scenario, tak ada legal issue that you can identify. Okay, so please bear that in mind. Okay, when you are reading the scenario given to you, okay, what are the relevant issues that you can identify from the scenario? Okay. And then a legal issue basically, okay, when you are writing the issue, okay, legal issue is the one that arises from the facts but gives rise to a question of interpretation or analysis. So meaning that from the scenario itself, okay, you can identify the issue and you know how to interpret and analyze the issue. Because at the end, the next step lagi that you have to follow. Ada R, ada A, ada C lagi. So the first step is for you to identify the issue. Okay, so what you need to do is think about the facts and identify legal issues in relation to them. Okay, so legal issue ni basically problem, okay, that you can identify from the given scenario. All right, the next step is rules and relevant principles. So after you have successfully identified the issue, okay, from the scenario given to you, the next step is for you to write down the rules and relevant principle. Okay, the rules and relevant principles. So for this part, okay, you have to identify the relevant laws to be applied. Okay, basically, after you have successfully identified the issue, okay, that issue actually, it will be a signpost to the rules and therefore possibly also to point you to the direction of the actual law. Maksudnya, from the identification of the legal issue, it will possibly direct you to the law that you have to apply in the given scenario. It will possibly direct you to that. okay, to answer that. Okay, kalau lah kata if you incorrectly identify the issue, mungkin the rules and relevant principle that you identify is incorrect as well. Okay, so the first step to make sure that you have already identified the correct issue. Sebab tu barulah jawapan that follows tu dia akan jadi correct answers as well. Okay, so the key part is for you to find the relevant law. Okay, katalah kalau kata soalan tu, the question asks you about the iddah period. Okay, iddah period of a woman whose husband has passed away. Okay, so issue dia adalah to determine the iddah period. The issue is to determine the iddah period. So the key part is for you to discuss the relevant law related to the duration of iddah period only. So you are not required to discuss macam mana proses dia kahwin, macam mana proses dia bercerai ke, for example. You are not required to discuss that. Okay, if you discuss that, meaning that you cannot identify the correct issue. Okay, because the relevant principle or rules relevant to the scenario given yang iddah period tu adalah for you to discuss how to calculate the iddah period and what are the Quranic verses and maybe sunnah of the Prophet related to the issue in discussion. Okay, next, ini maybe some tips that you might consider, okay, in answering rules and relevant principle. You may use arrows or color coding, okay, to attach the relevant laws to the relevant issue so that you won't lose track of them when you come to actually write your answer. Jadi basically kat ini usually kalau kata face to face lah, kalau kata online ni, okay, maybe you can use the highlighter part kan, macam mana, because before you start answering a question, as mentioned by the previous speaker, you need to structure your answer. So in structuring your answer tu, okay, make sure that you dah ada apa dia punya issue, lepas tu attach the relevant laws so that easy for you to refer in writing your answer. So when you are writing your answer, you'll be stating what law you have selected and saying why it is relevant to the issues you have identified. Okay, so meaning that the discussion of your rules and relevant principles tu, it should only include the relevant law. Maksudnya relevant law yang related to the issue only. Okay, you are not required to state all laws. Okay, kalau isu tu pasal identification of the iddah period, yang tu saja. You tak payah masuk discussion pasal divorce. You are not required to mention about nikah, for example. Walaupun nikah, divorce tu related juga dengan iddah, tapi it is not related to the question, okay, to the scenario. And then you will go on to apply the law to the question. Okay, so the tips, maybe when you are writing the answer, deal with one issue at a time. So maksudnya jangan jumble up. Kalau lah kata ada two issues that you have to discuss, okay, two issues arising from the given scenario, okay, what you have to do is deal with one issue at a time. Jangan deal dengan dua isu sekali. Okay, because it will disturb the structure of your answer. And for us, the examiner as well, it is quite difficult for us, okay, to see the flow of your answer. Okay, because examiner pun human being as well. Macam like what mentioned by Madam Madara and Madam Adibah previously kan, kalau kata you have a good structure of your answer tu, easy for us to give you mark. Easy for us to find the point and give you mark. Alright. So all you have to say in one point, then move to the next one. Maksudnya jangan jumble everything, make it in separate paragraph. Okay, next is the application part. So the application part is actually the key point that distinguishing the essay question dengan problem solving question. Sebab problem solving question ni dia ada this application part. Okay, application part is basically applying the law to the facts given. Okay, you have to know how to apply the law, the rules and relevant principles that you already identify to the given scenario. Okay, so what you have to do, you cannot just simply stating what the law is relevant to the facts. Maksudnya you state je law relevant pasal iddah bla 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 dekat sini, but you are not applying the law to the given scenario. Okay, you have to do something with the law that you already identified. Okay, do something with the law that you have already identified, meaning that is the application part. Okay, meaning that applying the law that you already identified, okay, in the given scenario. So being able to describe the law and how it has been used in previous cases, it may be demonstrate some degree of knowledge. Maksudnya baguslah. At least you understand the question, you understand the issue, you understand the rules and relevant principles related to the scenario. Tetapi it does not really show that you understand the law. Okay, sebab mungkin you tahu law tu apa, but you do not know how to apply. Okay, because being a law student, not only you have to know about the law. Okay, nanti kalau jadi lawyer, you have to know how to use your law, okay, in answering your client's issue. Okay, kalau tahu law saja but do not know how to apply, then dia tak complete lah dekat situ. Okay, so the skills to for the application tu is very important for you to master as well. And to show that you understand the law, you must be able to apply it. Okay, maksudnya not only listing the law, okay, law yang related to ni blah 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 blah, but you do not know how to apply, maksudnya tak cukup lah skill tu. Okay, tak complete lah markah you untuk problem solving question. Okay, if you can apply the law to the problem, basically you are showing that you have the higher level of understanding than just being able to identify the law. Okay, because you know how to apply. Okay, so the best way to apply the law successfully is for you to ensure that you are using it to demonstrate something or to prove the point that you have made. Okay, maksudnya this is the law and this is how to this is the process ataupun procedure for you to apply the law. Okay, and then explain what effect the authority would have on your case. The last part is for you to write down the conclusion. Okay, the last part is for you to write down the conclusion. Basically, the conclusion ni adalah your advice. Okay, like imagine yourself being a lawyer. Okay, so you give the conclusion. Basically, the conclusion is your advice. Okay, the summary of the discussion. Okay, the summary of the law you have applied and the result of applying it. Okay, but you do not have to worry when it comes to your conclusion. As long as you have constructed your answer by using the law to support your argument, you will be right. Okay, sebab mungkin nanti you punya conclusion macam lain sikit daripada your friend, please do not worry. As long as you identify the correct issue, you identify the correct rules and relevant principle, you know how to apply the rules and relevant principles to the given scenario. Okay, dia selalunya lah. Okay, the probability is that you will come to a correct conclusion. Okay. So next, this is the sample of problem solving question. If I'm not mistaken, this question was given to the students until end of semester examination 2 years back, if I'm not mistaken. Waktu awal-awal COVID, the first time that we have online examination. Okay, now let us read the question together. Due to COVID-19, the government of Malaysia declared the control movement order, which affected many citizens, including Ali, who was just been terminated from his job. Ali was caught for stealing a gold bracelet worth 15,000 ringgit. He admitted to the crime and claimed that he was desperate for money, as his family, which consists of his wife and 2 children, have not eaten for 3 days. To make it worse, the rental was defaulted for 3 months and the landlord already issued a notice for eviction. So in your opinion, if Malaysia implements hudud law, should the punishment of theft, chopping of the hand, amputation of hand be imposed on Ali? Support your answer with the example of ijtihad practice during the time of the companion. So this is the sample of problem solving question. So last time, this is the question for the students to answer. This was the question for the student to answer. So maksudnya we give you the scenario. The scenario ni pasal Ali yang mencuri, whether he should be imposed with the punishment of amputation of hand. Okay, now how to answer the question. So the correct issue that you can identify or the correct issue that you can derive from the given scenario adalah whether the punishment of theft, chopping of the hand should be imposed on Ali. That is the issue. Kita nak tahu kan because of due to COVID-19, okay, should the punishment of amputation of hand be imposed on Ali? That is the correct issue that you have to identify. Okay, secondly, the second step is for you to write down the rules and relevant principle. Okay, so according to Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 38, Allah prescribed a severe punishment that is chopping off the hand to those who were convicted for stealing. Okay, that is the general punishment. So we understand for those who are liable, okay, who are liable for committing the offense of theft, this is the punishment prescribed for you according to Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 38. However, during the time of Caliph Umar, he suspended the implementation of hudud punishment for a certain period during the time when Madinah was experiencing drought season. Okay, because of shortage of food, according to the ijtihad made by Caliph Umar. Okay, obviously topik ni dah datang daripada period of the righteous Caliph lah. Kita tengok daripada ijtihad made by Caliph Umar. So he suspended the punishment. He suspended the implementation of the punishment. Bukan he suspended. He did not change the Quranic verse. The punishment is still there. Okay, the prescription of the punishment is still there in Surah Al-Ma'idah. However, what he did was only to suspend the implementation of hudud punishment for those committing the offense of theft because of drought season. And some people were caught stealing food. Okay, and Umar said that we cannot impose the punishment to these people because they are desperate of food and they did not deserve to be punished under the hudud punishment because it was not normal situation at that time. Okay, the reason was hudud punishment can only be implemented if the crime was committed under normal circumstances. If it was abnormal circumstances, then we are not required In other words lah, dia punya ijtihad, we are not required to implement the punishment. This situation, it falls under the ruling of darurah or necessity that permits the forbidden action to be committed. And the Prophet said in his sunnah, hudud is elevated with uncertainty. So now if we take a look at the rules and relevant principle ni, there are two authorities that we use. Okay, the first one is Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 38. Okay, as for the punishment for those committing the offence of theft. Okay, secondly kita tengok kepada the ijtihad made by Umar during the time of his leadership, and then thirdly the sunnah of the Prophet. Okay, hudud is elevated with uncertainties. Okay, so these are the relevant principles related to the scenario. Okay, and then when it comes to the application, okay, you have to know how to apply the law on the implementation of hudud in the case of darurah. Sebab kita boleh compare balik during the time of Caliph Umar ni, it was draft season, dia adalah dalam keadaan darurat. And from the scenario given to you pun, it was in the state of darurat as well because of COVID-19. Ramai yang hilang kerja, for example. Okay, you do not have work, you do not have money. Okay, then some people, okay, they have to steal, okay, out of desperation. So by applying the principles during the time of Caliph Umar, the punishment of theft can be deferred. Its implementation due to darurah situation. Okay, so COVID-19 darurah. Lepas tu during the time of Umar, draft season pun darurah as well. Okay, so application of the rules or relevant principle during the time of Caliph Umar in the given scenario in your question. So hopefully dia macam you are making an analogy jugalah, macam kan you know how to apply qiyas already kan. So qiyas daripada drinking khamar dengan misuse of drugs. Yang ni pun lebih kurang tak? Maksudnya you are making an analogy because the rules and relevant principles, it can be applied, okay, in the given scenario. Okay, as for the conclusion, we expect the student to conclude by answering the issue. Sebab okay, kalau kita trace balik the issue adalah whether the punishment of theft, chopping off the hand, should be imposed on Ali. So in your conclusion, you have to answer the issue. Okay, whether the punishment of theft, chopping off the hand, should be imposed on Ali. Okay, kalau kata kita apply the ijtihad made by Caliph Umar during the time of his leadership, meaning that we can suspend, okay, the implementation of the punishment for those committing committing theft, okay, during COVID-19 pandemic in this situation. Okay, but just a reminder, just to share with you guys as well, when we gave this student to this, we gave this question to this student previously, ada one of my students, okay, dia dah incorrectly identify the issue. Okay, incorrectly identify the issue. The correct issue is whether the punishment of theft, chopping off the hand should be imposed on Ali. Tapi my students tu, apa yang dia jawab, yang previously lah kan, what he answered adalah, dia kata whether Ali is liable for the offence of theft. Okay, dia punya jawapan tu dekat isu tu, whether Ali is liable for the offence of theft. Okay, maksudnya mungkin daripada the scenario given ni, what he understood lah at that time tu, mungkin dia ingat kita nak discuss pasal whether Ali is liable for the offence of theft kan, sebab ada pasal theft juga. Okay, tapi sebenarnya that is an incorrect identification of issue. Sebab lepas tu he went on discussing dekat rules and relevant principle ni, dia masukkan ayat Quran, dia masukkan ayat yang wala ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil illa an takuna tijaratin antara minkum. So dia masukkan ayat tu kan, kata kita tidak boleh mencuri kan, you are not allowed to commit theft, so prohibition of committing theft in Islam. Dia masuk discussing pasal ayat tu, lepas tu dia masuk pula dia punya discussion dalam rules and relevant principles ni on the importance of protection of property, discussion under apa maqasid syariah apa semua tu. Okay, so dia dah salah dekat situ, dia identification of the issue salah, so the answer that follows pun salah as well. Okay, isu dah salah, lepas tu rules and relevant principle salah, application pun salah, dia punya conclusion pun salah. Okay, so make sure that the first step tu is correct already. Maksudnya we are not, for this type of question, we are not discussing whether Ali is liable for committing the offence of theft or not. Okay, sebab if you read back the question ni, we are discussing should the punishment of theft be imposed on Ali or not. Okay, so jangan please make sure that you identify the issue correctly. Sebab kalau if you identify the issue incorrectly, they akan affect your rules and relevant principle, they akan affect your application, they akan affect your conclusion as well. Okay, so that's all from me. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Oh, lebih pula masa. Sorry committee.
Lebih banyak, Miss.
Oh, itulah.
Well, Lapis, I don't think we can have a time for questions since we're really running out.
Okay, so kalau ada question, tanya dalam kelas please ask your respective teacher. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Miss
you,
Farah,
Miss.
Miss Madaria. Thank you.
All right, now we'll take a 5-minute break,
Okay.
guys, and we'll be right back at 11:50 a.m. Enjoy your break.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, now we are back to continue our program. Hope everyone is well rested and are ready to stick with us for the rest of the program. We will now continue with our third slot of the day, which is exam tips and tricks by both our respected alumni, Brother Saiful Hadi bin Baharin and Sister Dania Wardina binti Adzalan. The virtual stage is yours.
Test. Am I audible?
Yes, Brother Saiful.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbana shrah lana sudurana wa yassir lana umurana wahlul 'uqdatam min alsinatina yafqahu aqwalana. Ridwan bin Muhammad Saleh, MeLex advisor, all panelists from the lecturers, Madam Adibah, Madam Badariah, and also Miss Fahana, program organizing committee led by Brother Hanafi and Sister Ainul Shazwina from Bureau Education and Training, and also all CFS IUM law student. Okay, before we start our speech, with Sister Dania. Okay, I would like to know. I would like to get to know everyone, and I want to know if everyone is here or not. I know that maybe some of you in the shopping mall, looking for lunch, or you are in a restaurant, or maybe you are in a vacation for the post-PKP vacation, and I don't mind, but I just want to know that if you are here, okay? So for this session, I would like this session to be a relaxed session, not a very stressful session. Relaxed session. Also, I want this chat box is active with your comments, and I want your response too. Okay. So for the beginning, I would like to hear your voices. Okay, can every one of you? Okay. We have here 175 participants, okay, from CFS IUM. Okay, so I would like to hear all voice from the boys, from the male students. Okay, okay, okay. But now I want the male student first. Okay, so I will count 1, 2, 3, and I want everyone to say anything they want. Okay, you want to sing a song. But don't curse your friend. Cannot. Okay. So I count to 3, and I give you 10 seconds for all of you, male students only, to say anything you want. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Open your mic.
Hello, brother.
Hello.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum.
Okay, okay, thank you. That's not enough actually. I think only 5 to 10% only open their mic. Okay. So where are everyone? Okay, where is everyone? Okay. And next, I would like to hear the female student voices. Okay. Okay, just open your mic and say anything you want. Okay. Okay, so on the count 1, 2, 3.
Assalamualaikum. I want to be the best student.
Oh, I want the best student. Okay. Thank you.
Good job.
So actually, the sisters actually is more encouraging than the brothers. Okay. Where are your brothers? Okay. So for the last one, I just want to I've achieved my objective of getting to know that all of you are here. The second objective, if I want to know that if you are ready or not. Okay. So to test, to know that are you all ready or not, I want all of you to open your mic. Okay, open your mic and you say something positive. Do you know NLP, Neuro Linguistic program? One of the program is we have to say something positive about ourselves. Okay, so I want all of you, 175. Right now, 176 Okay, I want more actually, because at the previous session there are 190. Where are all the others? Please ajak diorang balik to come back. Okay, so I want to test that you are ready or not. I want all of you say I am what. Okay, for example, I'm great, I am handsome, I am beautiful. Okay, I'm sus contoh. Okay, tapi sebutkan perkara yang positive things only. Okay, I want to get to know that if you are ready or not. Okay, so I count to 3 and I give you 10 seconds to say all positive things, okay, to make our day in a positive mood, in the positive tone. Although we are in a virtual program, but I want you not to lie down on the bed while hearing to me, not doing things that actually will distract your focus to this program. But I want you to smile and to be positive in our session today. Okay. Okay. So please describe yourself. I'm what in 10 seconds. Okay. If all of you open your mic, you will not be shy to voice out your voice. Okay. So in count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
I'm going to
I
get
am
amazing.
amazing.
Smart.
Okay, thank you. Ada yang paksa rela. Never mind. Okay. I just want you to be active, to be responsive to this session. Okay. So first of all, it's a great honor to be invited here. I would like to thank the organizer for inviting us, me and Sister Dania. For me, it's a valuable opportunity. This is the first session for me to share something with the junior lah. Okay, because with my peers I have shared in some session in the other session lah. So I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Saiful Hadi bin Bahrain. You can call me by Saiful or Saiful only lah. We have only 1 year apart. Okay, so currently first year and first semester. I'm not that old. 5th year, no. I'm just the first year student. I'm the former MeLex president in 2020 and 2021 session before. Okay, MeLex president, and I've learned a lot. Okay, from the advisor, especially Madam Adiba, Miss Fahana, and so Sir Ridwan. Okay, so currently first year first sem in LLB law, and all of you will go there too. And currently still at home. I'm not planning to go to the campus for this semester. Okay. So live in Selangor, Kepong Selangor. Anyone dekat-dekat boleh rujuk-rujuk. Okay. So that's all from me to introduce myself. I give the floor to this Sister Dania to introduce herself.
Hey, assalamualaikum everyone. So my name is Dania Warina binti Azan. You guys can just call me Dania. I am the same age as Brother Saiful. I'm also first sem law student. I'm taking LLB. I'm not taking the double degree for Sharia. I actually registered to stay in campus, but I am currently at home because the internet connection at my mahala is not very good to have this opportunity to talk to you guys. So I decided to come home because I live not very far from IIM Gombak, around 10 minutes. So I came back home for this program, but usually I'm at campus. It's been a week or 2 weeks at campus already. Dah sampai 1 week. So same as Friday Saiful, it is a great honor to get this opportunity to share with you guys on how we learn, how we study, and how we answer the exams with our hopefully useful tips. And I hope that you guys can implement these tips for your upcoming examination. I think that's all for my introduction.
Okay, all right, thank you, Sister Dania. Sister Dania, where do you live?
Huh?
Where do you live?
Bukit Antarabangsa, Selangor.
Okay, 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get back to our topic, which is the tips and tricks by alumni. So young to be alumni actually, but alumni CFS is very curious lah. Okay, so before that, I want to know that if you are ready or not. If yes, please type yes in the comment section. Okay, please. Okay, I want to know if you are ready or not. Yes, okay. This semangat dari kawan. Okay, Okay. So, all right. Okay. I would like to say that inshallah our session will be not too long because I understand that Gen Z hate long session. They hate long videos. They hate long long readings. But you have to lah. Okay. That's why Gen Z is very attached to TikTok because they love 15 second, 30 seconds video. Okay. So I get to know that your examination will be at 10th of November, right? Okay. Anyone can comment? Okay. And I would like to know, when are you going back to Gambang? When are you going to Gambang? You never came to Gambang. Okay. Anyone can? Huh, Kamal?
We'll never know.
We'll never know. Okay.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Okay, there are no announcement yet. I think when the SEM 1 is finished, you go back to campus. Okay, don't go back. You will go to campus. You never go to campus yet. Okay, so we'll talk about examination tips and tricks. I would like to quote and Quranic verses. The Quranic verses in Surah Al-Mulk, chapter 67, verse number 2. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Okay, Allah said ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Do anyone knows what is the meaning of the terms, the phrase ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا? Okay, anyone? Okay, can write in the comment. Okay, so ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا literally meaning as to test which one of you is the best in terms of the amal or the good deeds. Okay, so this is the basic concept of examination, and I would like all of you to know that actually the bigger view or the broadest view of examination is actually our life. Okay, so that is the concept of our life, that we have to strive, we have to make an effort to be the best in the life in terms of good deeds, but in the examination in terms of good answer and an accurate answer. So what I want all of you to understand is that examination is a broad view, and you have to have a great mindset about that. Okay, because if you attach yourself to examination too deep, and if you fail in your examination and you will get too disappointed, it will be a problem to you. Okay, because you must get disappointed. Yeah, you must get sad. Okay, to take something to plan a better future in the next examination, but you must know that the whole life actually is an examination. Okay, so because we are IUM, we have to quote some Quran Islamization. Okay, so we will present, we will share just a brief sharing on tips and tricks, because actually what you want to know about examination actually have been provided by the lecturers before. Madam Adiba, Madam Badra, and also Miss Farhana, they have provided all what you have to lengkapkan diri anda, yeah, for examination. You have everything in the previous session, but we'll just have a brief sharing session lah. Okay, so we will share on what to do before examination, what to do during examination, and what to do after examination. Okay, Sister Dania can go to the next slide. All right. Okay. Okay, never mind. Okay, so we will go to before examination. Okay. Before examination, for me, we will talk about two things. The first is the long-term planning, and the second one is the short-term planning. Long-term planning is to study in a very smart way. Okay, and my advice, my tips in coping with the subject, especially the law subject, is to do a weekly revision. Okay, actually these tips is actually late, but these tips will be useful for all of you in the next semester. So weekly revision is simple and actually an effortless things to do, but it's very, very impactful to your studies. You have to know a law. Okay, this is not a legal law. It's not a legal statute. Okay, but you have to know that there is a theory or a law that said 20-80 rule. 20-80 rule. Okay, so this rule said that in our life we have to set our priority until we get to 20% of our efforts that can give an 80% of our results. Okay, so in order to get to the 20% of effort, we have to set our priority. We have to eliminate the wasteful things to do, and we have to do the impactful things only. So our effort is only 20%, but the result will be 80%. Okay, so weekly revision, for example, ETIL. For example, I do not remember the course outline. For example, first intro, second will be sources of Islamic law, Quran, Ijma, apa semua, and then third will be history of development of fiqh. For example, the three. Okay, ini week first, week second, week third. Okay, third week. Okay, and then in the first week we have to revise the first components, the first subject, which is intro, and then the second week we have to revise back. Okay, we have to revise the sources of law which are taught in the second week, and also the first intro subject. We have to revise. We have to repeatedly revise our subject, our lesson. Okay, and the third week we have to revise the three subjects, which is intro, source of law, and also history. So you will when you are nearing to the final examination, you will have more time. You will have more time to examine yourself and to test, to make pass the question rather than you memorizing for the whole study week. Okay, so that's the long-term planning, and the short-term planning, which is very actually relatable to all of you, is the last-minute preparation. What to do for the last-minute preparation is, for example, we have 2 weeks of study weeks. You have to set your target. For the first week of the study week, you must you have to finish all the syllabus. You have to finish all the memorizing things. You have to finish all the memorizing case things, and after that you can focus on the other week to test yourself, to do past year question, and make sure with last minute preparation you have a schedule. You have a very, very tight schedule so that you can push yourself in the first week, and the second week you have to just relax and also test yourself with some past year question. So that's all from me for before examination. Oh, that's quite long, huh? Okay, Sister Dania.
Okay, thank you, Brother Saiful. So for my part, it's not very different from Brother Saiful, but of course I have a few differences. So first things first is that I found myself hard to, cram all these topics during the study week only. So I would advise all of you to focus in class, to listen to the lectures. Especially in the lectures, the lecturer would always highlight which point is very important, which point, how you should do this, how you should do that. So I think that you should really be focusing in class, and you should also always ask questions if you have anything that you are unclear of. Maybe macam, oh tak pasti benda ni sebenarnya macam mana, yang ni macam mana. So asking questions can clear out those confusion. And even if you guys rasa macam soalan ni macam remeh, but my lecturer in degree right now said that treat every questions that you are gonna ask, treat them like it's a very wise question. Don't treat it macam kita rasa benda tu remeh. Jangan macam tu lah. So kita, if ada confusion, just tanya je. It doesn't matter if to other people our question sounds remeh ataupun macam mana, tapi kita tanya je so that our confusion will be clear. And then I prefer to do study group because I had 1 sem face-to-face in CFS, and then 2 sem online until degree. I have online class. During the online class, I find it hard to study alone. Untuk duduk dalam bilik seorang-seorang and semak slide and baca case, hafal case, rasa macam lonely and macam you guys understand it because you guys are currently facing online class, right? So it feels lonely. So I think that having a study group is very effective for me. But my style of study group is not us gathering together and then just reading our own material. So my kind of study group with my friends, we actually we will assign like okay, you ambil tajuk ni, you ambil tajuk ni, I ambil tajuk ni, and then we will study that topic. And for our study session, we will present and discuss on the topic that we received, that we were assigned to earlier. And I find that this method is very effective for me because, and sometimes even during our study session, kita orang bukan sahaja present apa yang kita orang dah study beforehand, tapi kita orang ada discussion juga because macam maybe ada pencanggahan, maybe we see this thing like this, we see this thing like this, and this discussion during the session is very effective. It helps you to like work your brain, untuk gerakkan, untuk kita nampak insight daripada orang lain. And as you all know, discussion is very good because we always get to see what other people see. Maybe it's very different from our own perspective. So it's very good to have your mind wide open with other people, with how other people view what we view. So it's very good because then when you answer question, maybe what you think is right is not applicable to the question. So you have another view that can help you from the discussion sessions. So I think that study group helps me a lot during Sem 2 and Sem 3 of my CFS time because it's online and it's very effective. It helps me a lot. And then just like what Madam Badaria, Madam Adiba, and also Miss Fahana presented in the previous slide, you see that there are ways to answer the questions for short essay, long essay, problem solving, so on and so forth. So it is important for you to know what your lecturer prefer, on how you answer the question. So you have to ask your lecturer in class how they prefer for you to write your question, how to write your answers, like using IREC and how to, the keyword that has been presented in the slide before is also important. Also the marks. We always look at the marks and the keyword before we figure out how we answer the question so that we don't waste time during like 2 marks question, but we waste 10 minutes. So we can save the time efficiently for other question because we have essay question and we also have problem solving question. So that is why we need to see the keywords and also the mark so that we can figure out what how many time we should allocate for this question so that we don't overuse it and then we don't have enough time. So I think that is my preparation for before the examination. So I focus a lot on study group. And my style of study group is having a discussion or like debate style like that. So I think that's all for before the examination. Brother Saiful can proceed with what he prepares during the examination.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Sister Dania. So what I conclude from Sister Dania's sharing is also when we are doing study group, it's not actually just you are presenting this and I'm presenting that. In a study group, it's better to do a critical discussion in order to know what is the result of the study group, so that you can apply them in the examination. So I will go. Okay, everyone is here. Is everyone here? I want to you type. Okay, the participant has become less, 161 only, but never mind. I hope that the rest of you that are still in here is focused and also concentrate in our sharing session. Okay, and then for the during examination, I have no not much tips because all of you has encountered or has experienced the examination and online examination also because you have gone through the SPM, we have gone through the online session of PDPR at school. So I think all of you have understand it. So this a piece of advice for me, just get enough sleep and also know the allocated time for every question. For example, as Sister Dania said, For the 2 marks question, you waste your 20 minutes, for example. So it's a very a big loss for your time management in examination. So that's all for during the exam. Dania, have anything?
Okay, so for during the examination, I think it's very important, like brothers have to say, to get enough sleep so you don't wake up the next morning on your paper day, you feel like sleepy, you feel demotivated to answer your paper, because that it will affect you, because having like kurang tidur nanti macam bila nak jawab kan, you guys akan macam, you have the idea but you can't really sampaikan the idea because you don't lack the energy. So having enough sleep is very important. Okay, so you have to find a conducive place too. You have to sit at a place where you feel the most peaceful so you can focus on answering your answer script. And I advise you to have your water bottle or a glass of water next to you because the exam hours are a bit long. So I think that it would help a lot, especially if you need to focus, or if you are thirsty, you can have your drink next to you. And if you have exam in the morning, make sure you take your breakfast. If you have exam in the evening, make sure you take your lunch. Make sure you are energized for your papers. And during the exam, it's very important for you to not to panic during the exam. And you have to use your time wisely. So if you find yourself panicking, you have to take a deep breath and just relax, because like I remember Sir Ridwan said that you have the answer at the back of your mind. It's just that you have to take a breath, you take a deep breath, you have to relax, and it will come to you, inshallah. So I think that is what I do during the examination.
Okay, thank you. So next for the post-examination or after the examination. So I have some tips. The first one, after examination, please, if permissible, do your self-reward. Okay, you have to love yourself. Okay, please appreciate yourself for your effort. If you think that you have done your best, and even though if you actually done something wrong in your exam, but please don't punish yourself too much, because this is a time of the mental health issue is very actually very banyak lah kan. So please self-reward yourself after the examination, because examination is very exhausting period, exhausting things to do and very things that we hate to do, but it is a must to do. And self-reward yourself maybe by eating what you want, okay, and maybe watching your favorite K-drama or movies. I know all of you love to watch K-drama, but yeah, but not exceed the limit. And second one, don't be too disappointed for your na'udzubillah bad result, but rather than be too disappointed, too sad because of your result, please make it as a motivation to you to do better in the next examination. And last one, please spend your holiday or your vacation or the inter-sem break between sem 1 and sem 2. All right, they break around a month, because CFS schedule is very actually santai, and spend your break with to sharpen your skill, for example. Okay, so Ridwan advised us in class, in inter-skills class, that one of the best things to do during the break is to sharpen our skill or to widen our vocabulary in English. And that's English and also other skills, for example, how to give a talk like this, and how to talk in front of people, how to present, okay? And this is very important, so don't waste your inter-sem break. Please do something beneficial, read more, read a lot, even though out of syllabus, but not read only the fiction things. You can read the fiction thing, but please have something intellectual to read. For example, you have to read some philosophical books. Ibn Tufail, Hayy bin Yaqdan, a philosophical tale. Okay, just to say in English. Okay, so it's very important not to read some Melayu pitisan, bacaan, but we have to read more into intellectual things, because as a students, we have to make ourselves beneficial and useful to the society. Okay, so that's all from me. It's a very actually long-term tips lah for after the examination. So Sister Dania.
I think that my point is similar with Brother Saiful. You have to reward yourself because you just went through the studying and also the examination. So it is your right to have yourself reward, and it's actually a very good thing to do. So I suggest that you do that, and you have to take your rest after that. So during the inter-semester break, you can rest. And also I think that this is very common since sekolah kot, you don't discuss the question that you just answer in the exam. What's passed is passed. I think that is very, because sometimes some people are okay with it because they are like, oh tak apalah dah lepas, but some people are affected to it and we never know which is which. So I think that it's okay, it's advisable to not discuss the question that you just answered, because you have to, pass is pass, and you have to make it as a motivation for you to do even better in the next examinations. So this tip applies to not just for this semester's paper, but also for the next upcoming papers as well. This is what I usually do for every examination that I will sit for. So I think that's all from me. Very safe.
Okay, so I think that's all from us for the third slot, which is sharing on exam tips and tricks, okay, by alumni. So maybe we can proceed to the last slot, okay, last session.
Right, thank you, Brother Saiful Hadi bin Baharin and Sister Dania Wardina binti Azlan for the amazing sharing session to our participants. I hope everyone is able to apply the tips and tricks discussed here in your own journey in CFS IIUM. Finally, last but not least, we will be joined again with both Brother Saiful Hadi bin Baharin and Sister Dania Wardina binti Azlan for our final slot, which is a Q&A/forum session with me as the moderator. Everyone can type down their questions in the chat box below and it will be answered by our respected guests. Okay, we also have a few questions we got from survey, so let's go through them first. So for the first question, we have a question for Sister Dania, which is, how should we manage our time efficiently?
Okay, so for me, I think that question is very subjective and that cannot apply same for every person because we are currently at home. So we have different schedules from a person to person basis. But I think that the most suitable time, how to figure out how to manage your time efficiently is to figure out when is the most effective time for you to study. Some people can study better in the morning, like after subuh. Some people think that they work better at night or waktu petang. So it's best to figure out what is best for you, not what is best for other people. You have to figure out also your learning style. So sometimes you can watch videos or read through the slides, but some people need to do some notes. So it's you have to figure out how you learn and what time is best for you to learn. So as for example, I cannot study after subuh. I'm too sleepy to study. So I always study at night. So at night I work the best. So you have to figure out what time you work the best and then you work from there. So, and you also have to, and it's very important in time management to also allocate time for yourself, for you to take a rest, for you to go outside for a walk or spend time with your family. Is very important to have that aspect in your everyday life as well when you are managing your time. So I think that the best advice or the best answer I can provide to this question is that you have to figure out what's best for you and then you work your way from there.
Thank you, Sister Dania. So to conclude, basically you have to figure out how you learn, when is the best time for you to study, and also don't forget to allocate time for yourself as a student because you're also a human being. Okay, thank you, Sister Dania. So now we'll move on to Brother Saiful pula. Ada question di sini. which is how to balance study and position / core curriculum workload. Brother Saiful, since you're the president of MeLex, so how do you balance study and core curriculum?
Okay, thank you, Brother Hadith Asfar. Okay, thank you. So for the question, is a very interesting question, and I love to answer. This question is in a very explainable way. First of all, when we talk about students who manage to balance their workload in terms of academics and also in terms of what we say in terms of managing their position or executing their responsibility, is a very good, or say an all-rounder student. So when you say about all-rounder students, what is your definition of all-rounder students, Brother Hadith?
He can manage time very well for every single thing that he does.
Okay, what things actually?
Responsibility for himself.
Okay, good answer. Okay, so I'll try to explain this question in a very beautiful way. So for me and all-rounder students, this definition is given by my counselor back in high school, that an all-rounder student is an excellent student in 4 aspects. Okay, the first one is spirituality. Okay, I just give you the point first. Okay, spirituality. The second one is academics. The third one is intellectualism. And the fourth one is activism. Okay, so we will go one by one. The first one is spiritualism. So in this context of I am student, all of the students are Muslim. So spiritualism, based on research on the Columbus State University in America, and this study is based on a lot of religious students, various religion students. So the study say that most of the students that engage with spiritual behavior, they can, the first one is they experience better satisfaction with their social life. Okay, and they have more positive interaction with others, including students, including lecturers and other staffs. They are more better. And the third one, they have a higher GPA, CGPA compared to the non-religious student. So this is the result of research made by Columbus State University. So this actually proves that spirituality is a very important part in our life, as it is the basic things that will actually construct our whole life. Okay, let us take this spirituality in the context of Islamic perspective. For example, in Islam, we have first to ensure ourselves to laksanakan all the obligations or the wajib. Okay, and after that, if we can consistently, okay, do our kewajiban, do our obligation, please, you can go to another level where you actually practice or do the sunnah every day. So how to do this? My tips is to do a mutaba'ah. Okay, mutaba'ah is a checklist of amal. Okay, for example, if you are actually getting to cope in doing your salah, for example, maybe and any one of you has a problem in coping to perform your 5 times a day salah. So make the mutaba'ah by checklisting every salah subuh. Okay, if you can get to perform that in the time, in the exact time, you tick. Okay, so this mutaba'ah to track back your amal. So it is very important. So it's basic. It's the basic thing to actually to ensure ourselves to be an all-rounder student. And it is not enough with spirituality only. Okay, it's not enough. You go to masjid every day and you don't commit to your study. The second one is academics. It's very important, and this is the main objective. The main role of a student is to study. Okay, and that this is very clear to everyone. The third one is intellectualism. Okay, this is a higher level from academics, because what is intellectualism is you can bring out what you study. For example, IRAC, how to solve problem using IRAC. How you can apply hierarchy now in your daily life. Okay, it's intellectualism. So some students, they just study, they just learn the lesson in the class, but they couldn't have the opportunity, or they couldn't apply that in their daily life. So it's very, I think, very big problem. So for example, in my CFS study, one of my favorite subjects is actually thinking skills, and taught by Sir Ridwan. Not bothered answer. This is my favorite subject because it's very actually applicable things in our life. For example, in encountering the issue, the current issue, in encountering or in coping with current issue, we have two type of people. There are type of people who will judge the issue by emotion, and there will type of people that will use their intellectuality and judge and determine the issue by their knowledge. This the part that we want. We want to be a student that are not, for example, politically encouraged by some issue without using our knowledge. It's a very big problem. So I love to quote a term in bahasa, which is mahasiswa. This is very good terms, as they are a word is maha. Maha is mean encouragement, pemerkasaan sebagai seorang mahasiswa. Mahasiswa must be student with a great intellectual ability. Not someone who just follow everything. We have to think, and we have to voice out our opinion. Okay, so that we can be a leader. So that's out the way. And the last one is activism. Activism is really a leadership, or your involvement in organization, in organizing, for example, to this program is very important. And for example, for myself, my experience is in CFS days, become a MeLex president is very challenging, especially when you are on campus and when you want to send the paperwork is very, very difficult because the office is very far from the mahala. And one thing is too that I'm currently a president of one of the non-government organization, NGO, Ilmuan. Okay, I'm currently leading that. So in Ilmuan also we have many critical discussion, many intellectual discussion. So that students right now can achieve to be a real mahasiswa. I love the word mahasiswa than student lah, mahasiswa. So that's all from me to the answer question. How to balance? You have to balance with all four aspects of the aspect. So to be an all-round students dan menjadi mahasiswa yang hebat. Okay, terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Saiful. So basically, to summarize, is how to balance study and co-curriculum. And your position is basically to be an all-rounded student, which focuses on these four aspects. So put into perspective, this four aspect is spirituality, which basically covers your obligations as a Muslim and whatever your religion is. Academic, which is your studies. Intellectualism, which is your application on your studies. While activism is for your leadership and activity in your university. So thank you, Brother Saiful Hadi, for that very insightful sharing. So now we move back to Sister Dania, with our third question, which is, do we need to memorize all of our notes?
Okay, so do we have to memorize all of our notes? I don't suggest memorizing, but I suggest understanding your notes. Because when you memorize something, for the sake of exam, the moment you finish your exam, you cannot remember anything. Because in the first place, you are memorizing for you to answer your exam, for you to answer examination. So I suggest for you to understand what you are learning, to understand your notes. And when you do your notes, you also don't have to follow other people. Some people do scribbles, and that is how they understand their notes better. Some people do very beautiful aesthetic notes, and that works for them. So you learn with your own style. And also memorizing is, I do not suggest memorizing. I really suggest for you to understand your notes. So how to understand? I think it's like telling a story. When I try to understand cases or when I try to understand cases, I try to understand from the facts of the case and why it happened and then what happened. So it becomes a story and it's easier to understand the case that way. When you understand something and when you have to explain it on paper or when you have to explain it to your friend, you can explain it more fluently rather than when you memorize, you may feel like, oh, I missed a point, but what point did I miss? Instead, when you understand your notes, you can tell the topic very fluently. It's like you're telling a story. So that's why I think that understanding your notes is better than memorizing your notes. So I think that answers the question.
All right, thank you, Sister Dania. Yeah. So basically, rather than memorizing, do understand your notes. And how would you do that? It depends on your style. But personally, Sister Dania prefer to tell a story on memorize and on how she understand her notes. But you guys can also use scribbles, mind map, or diagrams, whichever is your style. So thank you, Sister Dania. Now we'll move on to Brother Saiful again with the fourth question, which is, what is the most preferable time to study/memorize for final exam?
Okay, thank you. So this question is really have been explained in the sharing earlier. So I'll be responding in a short answer because my first question is very long answer. Okay, so most preferable time is really based on the students lah. But for me is early in the morning after subuh, and so you have to have a plan. So at the moment you have to have a short-term plan in utilizing in benefiting your study week in a best optimum moment. Okay, so please study early because when you study you can get to lighten your burden to study for your final exam. So I think this question is actually different answer for every student because every student have a different type of study step. Okay, that's all.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now we get back to Sister Dania again with another question, which is, how should we stay focused while studying?
Okay. So how to stay focused while studying? I like to walk around when I read my notes. I cannot sit at one place and just go through the notes. I cannot stay at one place and then just go through the notes. I need to walk around. And how do I focus? I sometimes listen to music but without the lyrics, like the rain sounds. Sometimes I use that to help me to blur out the background noise. Because when I was because during online class for semester 2 and 3 CFS, I'm staying at home because we are having online class, so it's hard because I have a lot of brothers and sisters at home, so they run around and they scream around, so it's hard for me to study even in my own room because they come in and out of my room. So I find it easier to focus when I listen to like any white noise, any preferable noise that the students found it easier for them. But I don't suggest listening to music that has lyrics because we are reading, so it will clash. So you will not remember what you are reading. So sometimes I listen to that, and like I mentioned earlier, that's how I stay focused. And then I like to walk around and I like to read out my notes out loud. And actually, I learned this style of learning during my high school. I found I cannot just see the slides. I need to listen as well. So I read the slides out loud and I print out the notes because I'm the type I need to highlight the words or I need to scribble on the notes. So I print out the notes. Or sometimes I think it's a bit easier like that because then if your lecturer say something that is not on the slide, you can add on. Or if you don't prefer to print out, you can also prepare your notes before class. And then you can scribble what your lecturer mentions in the class later on. So that's how I stay focused on during studying, when I study.
see, I think that relates a lot with what kind of student you are, since I think Sister Dania is more like a auditory kind of student. She has to hear back, but you might be visual or one other type, which I don't remember. But yeah, you can stay focused and figure out which works for you. But for Sister Dania, for auditory students is to walk around, use sounds without lyrics, the musics that you hear to, and read notes out loud, as it might help you.
Chris, if I may interrupt a bit, what you have mentioned just now, I just have 3 burning points to share actually.
Silakan,
because what have been mentioned by Sister Dania and Brother Saiful are very useful, but I just want to add some more. Like Sister Dania mentioned just now, she knows that her style is by way of walking and try to talk to herself, try to speak out loud the notes and so on. So she knows what kind of style or preference that suit her study style. So this is the first thing that I always I always advise my students, know your style or preference. You can do this by trying to answer any questions, or if you don't know this, you can try to answer a personality quiz online. Then they will come up whether you're an audio or audio version, visual kind of version, or psychomotor. You need to do it, only then you understand it. So you need to understand this first. And second, when people ask me when is the best time to study, I will answer them, the best time for you to study is on the first day of the semester. But that is my first answer. But unfortunately, that has long gone, right? 10 weeks ago. But when is the second best time to study? Starting from now. So don't delay anymore. So just the same question when people ask you, when is the best time to plant a tree? The best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. But when is the second best time? Now. So do it, okay? And third is actually ask questions. You need to be able to ask questions, because when you ask question, you can get clarification from it. So your mind will not be disturbed. You will not disturb the flow of ideas that you have. And lastly, what I want to say is that, Allahumma salli Muhammad. What is the last one? Understand, ask questions. Alamak, lupa last point. Continue dulu. Nanti saya teringat, saya interrupt balik.
Baik, sir. All right. Thank you, sir. That was very insightful. So now we get back to Brother Saiful. Should we study the textbook and recommended books, or can we just rely on the slides and notes given by lecturers?
Okay, thank you, Brother Arif, for the question. So should we rely on a textbook, or can we just rely on the slides and notes only? So this is my answer. If in this situation, and you are someone who actually procrastinate a lot, and until you have only got 2 or 3 days only to prepare for your examination, then the slides is not actually sufficient from my experience. But in the CFS, especially, maybe in your degree you will not survive by doing this. But my recommendation and my encouragement is to also read your textbook, read more on your topics, and do not just rely on the slide notes, because we don't know that actually when we read more, we get to know, for example, many more cases, for example. And for example, actually in ITL and ETL actually have cases not yet. For example, and in the next subject, for example, in constitutional law or criminal law, you will have a case. So maybe by reading your lecture notes, maybe it will be sufficient for you to understand the basis of the case. But it's better for you to go to the law website and to search for the case and read the case report by yourself to deepen your understanding on what are you learning on that case. So that's my answer. I like to just reply and simple answer because it's coming to lunchtime. So first, if you are in a very difficult situation, they have you 2 or 3 days more to the examination. Yes, you can rely on the slide and notes only. But at the moment, you have around 2 weeks, right? So 2 or 3 weeks. So please, first of all, focus on your lecture and slides and notes, and then please read more on the textbooks. So that's my answer.
Haris, sorry to interrupt again. I got my point now. Actually, my last point is actually the importance of pre and post class reading. You know, in order for you to understand, you need to read something before the class. At least you look into the course outline, you flip through the relevant pages, then try. There will be a mass different if you read something before class, or if you prepare something before class, or if you don't prepare anything before class. So that's it. Back to you, Haris.
All right, thank you both Brother Saiful and Sir Ridwan. Now we'll go back to Sister Dania, which is the 7th question. What is the most common mistakes made by the students while answering questions?
Okay, for this question, I don't have much experience for this question, just from what my friends sometimes tell me after they finish answering the exam. So sometimes there was one time where my friend, after they submitted, only like 2 days after the exam finished, then they remember what they answered and what they did wrong. So they suddenly like texted me in the group WhatsApp. They said that rasanya mesti ada buat salah lah. So the main reason is that they are in a rush. They are in a rush, and they are. It's not that they are and they are in a rush and they are panicking. Actually, the time is sufficient. Sometimes it is not sufficient when you don't use your time wisely, but most of the time it is sufficient. So that is why you have to allocate your time wisely. You have to look at the marks and the keywords to figure out how many times should I allocate for this question. Especially for problem solving question, that is a very long question because you have to use IRAC and then you have to identify your issue, so on and so forth. So that type of question will take a longer time rather than the state question or the explain question. So that problem solving question will take a lot of time, and it will take a longer time if you have more issue, if you have more than one issue. So that is why it's very important for you not to panic during your examination. You just have to take a deep breath. You have to take your time. You have to, if you feel like you need to stretch because you are too nervous to sit down, you can stand up and stretch a bit before you sit down and answer again. And I think that earlier before the Madam Adima said about submitting early, I have never seen any of my friends stand up early during answering the exam questions. During the first semester, we were in the hall all together, and I did not see anyone stand up early except to go to the toilet, and that is like very few. Only 1 or 2% went to the toilet. The other people, all of us, we sit down and answer till the end. So I don't know, but I've never seen anyone submitted early. And even during the online submission for examination, we always complain about not having enough time. So yeah, don't submit early, take your time. It is actually sufficient or sometimes may not be sufficient, but use your time wisely. And the common mistake that I would like to point out is students panicking during answering their questions. So that is why they miss a lot of points, or they make a mistake when they answer their questions. Yeah, and it's also important to see the keywords.
Yeah, I think Sister Dania really highlighted how tight the time is and how important time allocation is for students so that you don't panic. But I think it's very interesting to see the perspective of the students on the common mistakes that we make. But I think it would be more interesting to know, since Sir Ridwan is here, to know the lecturer's perspective on the common mistakes students make in examination. Silakan, sir, if you have.
I think common mistake is, of course, not preparing the right topic. Because some students up until the end of the exam, they don't know what are the topics covered for the final exam. That's number one. Number two, about panicking. I think that's another main reason your friend mentioned. Some of them just panic. We never ask questions that we don't teach in class, basically. And the third, on about the time actually, as a perspective from the invigilator's perspective, I always ask if a student want to submit early, betul dah siap ke? Dah siap. Betul semua tak? Student akan kalau rasa tak betul semua lagi, baca lagi. So basically, although it is your right to leave the hall early, I don't allow that. Okay. And another thing is, some of them, they are what we call that, they don't have sufficient rest. They end up come to the examination exhausted. They come to the examination hall in mass, you know, they are not really prepared. They don't have breakfast. They woke up late, berlari-lari dari mahala and so on. So this is another common mistake, and end up during the examination tertidur. So such a waste. So these are among the things that I can highlight.
All right, thank you, Sir Ridwan and Sister Dania, for that insightful answer for the question. Now we go back to Brother Saiful again. Is there any tips to understand / or memorize the specific English terms, which is the legal terms? How do you memorize those legal terms that we have?
Okay, all right. Thank you. So for the question, regarding the English regarding the legal terms. So first of all, sometimes a new law student who want to actually start their studies in law, actually sometimes they search for legal terms in the Google, so that they get a list. But those effort, for my opinion, is actually not very worth it, because we just get to know the terms, but we don't know how to use it. So my opinion is, when you are actually in a class, when you are reading the lecture, the slides, reading the textbooks, you will encounter this type of legal terms. You have to encounter first, because after that you get to know how it will be used in a sentence. So after that, you can go to Google and search for the meaning, or the best is if you have a legal dictionary that is specified for specified for defining the legal terms. Okay, so after you have encountered the words, for example, you can do various things. For example, you can highlight and actually write down the meaning. If you are the person that love to highlight your book, for example, or if you are someone who just not like to write down or highlight, you just get to apply the words in your everyday speech, for example, or in your discussion with your friends. So there's a person that who love to use it in the speech. But for me, I love to enter the words in my own dictionary. For example, for myself, my own dictionary, and I don't use handwritten, and I prefer to use it in Excel. I have an Excel dictionary, specified for the legal terms that I encountered in my studies. And after that, you don't just put them in the dictionary and don't use them. Please use them if the word is correctly used in a sentence, and use them frequently, so that you will memorize them, and also you will get to widen your vocabulary especially in answering law questions, because law questions actually require a very high vocabulary and a correct terminology in answering the question. That's all.
See, so basically, to summarize, is the way that Brother Saiful does it is, firstly, you have to encounter first those legal terms, and that's how you would understand how it is used. Then the best way to understand more is getting yourself a legal dictionary, and after that, making your own legal dictionary to use it more in the future, so that you can better understand and memorize it in your own vocabulary. All right, now we'll move on to the live comment questions. So for the first question is, nak tanya macam mana cara Kak Dania buat discussion?
Okay, so how I do my discussion session with my friends is so dalam masa CFS we will receive like a week from what week to what week the exam is going to come out, right? So kita akan macam bahagikan lah. So you take this week, you take this week, I take this week. Because I think it's very lagi time efficient that way. You can save time and you can also have active discussion. Because actually all these topics are discussed in the lectures. So when you are having another discussion, it can actually help you recall again. It's not that you don't remember the material, it's just that you don't, you cannot put it out in words, but you know it's in there. You know that you already have that in mind. It's just that you don't know how to say it. So I think that during the discussion, it's very helpful. So how I do my discussion is we distribute the weeks to each other. So I think it's better kalau macam kita assign week yang kita betul-betul faham. So macam supaya bila kita ajar kat orang, kita akan boleh ajar dengan baik lah. Sama macam kawan-kawan yang lain pun, diorang pun akan pilih tajuk yang very preferable to them. Sebab diorang nak, supaya diorang boleh cerita kat kita orang in a very simple but complete way. So that's how we do. And then bila dah we give time for studying each topic. Lepas tu we have our another we do another session with each other. So kita orang akan start lah. So siapa start dulu. And then during the discussion, if we face like maybe macam orang yang present tu dia ada pandangan lain tentang the topic. And then another people have another pandangan. So that is the time where we share how we view the topics with each other. And it's very good to actually have dispute, to have salah faham, so that you can see kat mana yang bercanggah tu. And then you can make it clear. And if macam that persanggahan is not bringing you anywhere near to the solution, then you can ask your lecturers on clarification. So that is how I do it. And macam paling penting dalam my discussion session lah is to have this discussion, to have this debate. Especially when you are discussing cases, sometimes orang pandang cara ni, ataupun how we interpret the akta semua tu is very different from each other, because ada orang boleh manipulate the akta like this and ada orang boleh macam ni. So when you have a discussion, you can see, oh actually cara ni pun boleh. It's not only limited to your own way of thinking. So I really suggest you having a discussion session instead of just a simple sit down together and read your own material study group. You have a discussion, a debate session with your friends. Thank you.
Right. I think we have a little bit more time, just a little bit for one last question. I think this is a very good question, but it's a private question, not the last one there. It is, it says, how do you both measure your progress in studies? Because some of us are unable to define it. So how do you measure your progress in studies? Both of you. This question is for both of you.
Very safe with this.
All right, I have to think a little bit. So, okay, how do we measure progress studies? Okay, personally, I'm not the person who actually put some target. For example, I'm not the person who, okay, for this sem, at least 3.9. I'm not the type of person like that lah. But I'm the one who will study hard. I'm not a study hard person. I'm a study smart person, and do the best in the examination. And no, because every person is different. Because we often hear that some motivational talk that we have to set our target. Yes, it applied to someone, but for me, I'm not the person who actually put okay for the SAM CGPA. But for me, I measure my studies progress is if I understand the subject. Yeah. So if I don't understand what I'm learning, so there's no progress. So that's my measurement for my study progress of study.
Okay. As for me, I I used to put target because I'm not really confident with my ability to, I don't know, memorize things, understanding things. I'm not very good at that, in my view lah. So I usually just put, during the first time, I put tak apa 3.5. 3.5 and above is okay. And then I think that it's not useless, but it doesn't, I think it only works as a motivator to you, but then it doesn't do much. So how I now measure my studies is the same as Brother Saiful. It's better to look at how much we understand what we learn instead of only the result. Some people think that only the result matters, but actually the effort matters a lot more than the result. So I nilai my own study progress, my learning lah. So how much I understand, and if I am able to understand better, why I cannot understand this better. So from there I see what I can improve better for future learning, like that. So I think that only measuring the result is not enough, but the effort means a lot more. So your effort in learning means a lot more than your results. So I think that is how I measure my study progress.
If I may add, because you are talking about measuring your performance, and of course, as a student, the first way to measure your performance is by looking into your CGPA. But secondly, some of you able to get 4.0, but some of you, do whatever reason, might not be able to reach that 4.0. And to be honest, throughout my study life, I've never reached 4.0 point. But what I can tell you is that just think, say for example, in that semester, for first semester, for example, you got 3.2. And then after you receive your, after you check your result, then you ponder, then you think whether is this sufficient? I have done last semester. Do I really deserve this? And if you think so, then you should be grateful for it. And in another case where you're in the situation where, for example, you got only 2.8. Oh my God, this is very bad. This is something very alarming. I need to do something. So you need to do something about what I have done wrong. Mungkin sem lepas tak belajar, tak buat practice and so on. This is something that you need to start to move on with. Okay, it's just a very objective kind of measurement, but it depends on how you reflect and how you move from that objective result, so that you can continue to grow and develop. First semester result tu kalau teruk, it's not a death penalty. It's not a death sentence. So don't worry about it. You can always improve. Okay, that's all. So by the way, thank you very much, Brother Saiful and Dania. Pass back to you.
All right. So thank you, brother and sister and sir, for answering all those questions. So brothers and sisters, we have already completed all the slots for today's program, which I really hope all of us would get benefit from the sharing.